me. Good luck. Godspeed, Artemis 2. Let's go.
We have good separation, good motion.
Houston is go for TLI.
We have the start of the translunar injection burn that will send the crew around the moon, the first humans to do so in over 50 years.
You can see the entire globe from pole to pole. It was the most spectacular moment.
As of 30 seconds ago, you are now closer to the moon than you are to us on Earth. Good morning, integrity, and good morning, moon. We look like we're smiling at you.
Good afternoon. Hey. Hold on. I don't know if you realize where you're at and what we've done, but we need some energy in here, okay? I mean, we just sent 4 people around the moon. You're in Houston, Texas. Let's try it again. Good afternoon. Hey. Awesome. That is awesome. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Norm Knight, Director of Flight Operations at NASA's Johnson Space Center. It is my honor to welcome you to Ellington Field in Houston as we celebrate the return of the Artemis 2 crew from their historic mission around the moon. This afternoon, we're not only celebrating their safe homecoming, we're recognizing a milestone in spaceflight history that advances America's bold return to deep space, this time to stay. I also want to extend a warm and sincere welcome to our distinguished guests who have joined us for this extraordinary moment. We are pleased to be joined by U.S. Representative Chairman Brian Babin, Representative Michael Cloud, and Chairman Greg Bonin. We're also glad to be joined by the staff of Senator Ted Cruz's office. And of course, to our NASA leadership and our partners across government, industry, and abroad, we can't do this alone. Most importantly, a warm welcome to the families of our crew. Their steadfast support, resilience, and love are the quiet force that power every mission we fly. And joining us, everyone joining us on NASA Plus and watching from around the world, thank you for following this mission and for standing with us in this defining moment for human spaceflight. Just 10 days ago, 4 extraordinary explorers, Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, launched aboard NASA's Space Launch System in the Orion spacecraft named Integrity on the first crewed Artemis mission, embarking on humanity's first journey beyond Earth's orbit in more than half a century. Last night, they returned to Earth with a safe splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. Today at Ellington Field, we welcome them home to Houston, Texas. With their safe return to their families, the Artemis II mission is now complete. Now, to help us bring this incredible crew out here, please join me in welcoming NASA Johnson Space Center Director Vanessa Weish to the stage.
Thank you, Norm. I love the energy in this room. To everyone joining us today, both in person and tuning in across the world, thank you. This is an extraordinary day, and it's your continued support that enables us to keep making giant leaps together. As Norm mentioned, just last night, Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy splashed down off the coast of San Diego, concluding an unforgettable 10-day mission to the moon. Together, the crew and Integrity traveled over 680,000 miles in total, journeying around the far side of the moon and return home safely. Marking a milestone within our agency's history that will echo for generations to come. Along the way, this crew completed critical demonstrations from Earth orbit operations to systems checkouts to the translunar injection burn and complex trajectory through cislunar space. For the very first time, Orion's life support systems were tested with astronauts on board, an essential mission milestone for deep space when we go there, further and further ahead. Beyond the data and demonstrations, this mission gave us something bigger, a powerful reminder of why we dare to explore. During a ship-to-ship call with the International Space Station, the crew shared a reflection that resonated around the world. How looking back at Earth, our bright, beautiful home, suspended in the vastness of space, reminds us how connected we are, how alike we are, and how precious this shared planet truly is. Millions globally felt that connection throughout this mission. People didn't just watch, they were invested. They cheered every milestone, they reveled in each heartfelt moment, and felt the triumph of this journey right alongside the crew. The excitement, the pride, the unmistakable moon joy, it is everywhere. And a new generation witnessed, if you can dream it, you can be it. And it will lead to countless students to become the next scientists, engineers, inventors, mathematicians, and astronauts who will dare to forge new frontiers in space and push the boundaries of what's possible for the benefit of all. Artemis II was designed to test, to learn, and to prepare, and it did exactly that. Its success is a testament to the dedication of thousands of people across the agency and the world who work tirelessly with excellence, supporting the crew through every phase of training and execution. This is the golden age of exploration, defined by innovation, partnership, and a bold, renewed commitment to extend humanity's reach. This mission moves us closer to exploring more of the moon, unlocking scientific discoveries, expanding economic opportunity, and laying the groundwork for the first human missions to have a sustained presence on the moon and for us to have our astronauts venture to Mars. Today's celebration is about more than hardware and milestones. It is a celebration of 4 pioneers who represent the very best of humanity, who traveled farther than any humans have gone before, and who carried all of us along with them. And now they are home. It is, yes. It is with tremendous joy and pride that we welcome home Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. We often say that we stand on the shoulders of giants. After seeing them return from this mission, I have to say, their shoulders now seem even broader for the next generation to stand on. Thank you all, and I now have the pleasure of introducing and inviting our NASA Administrator, Jared Isaacman, to the stage to welcome the crew home.
Well, good afternoon, and welcome home, Artemis 2. I'd like to begin by thanking President Donald Trump and our partners in Congress for giving us the mandate and the resources to make this mission and many others to come possible. I also want to acknowledge the contributions of the entire NASA workforce, our international partners at the European Space Agency and the Canadian Space Agency, and especially the American taxpayers. There is no doubt there is a price to pay when it comes to exploring the cosmos, but there is also a return in the jobs it creates, the technologies that improve life here on Earth, and the inspiration it sparks in all those who choose to follow. And to people all around the world who look up and dream about what is possible, the long wait is over. After a brief 53-year intermission, the show goes on, and NASA is back in the business of sending astronauts to the moon and bringing them home safely. This is why it is now my great privilege to welcome to the stage Commander Reed Wiseman, Pilot Victor Glover, Mission Specialist Christina Koch, and Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen. Ladies and gentlemen, your Artemis II crew.
Space motion sickness on a ride.
Well, Artemis II crew, this moment is the result of years of hard work, absolute immense expertise, and just being all around great human beings. Now, of course, many of us already knew that, especially your families that supported you throughout your impressive careers and on this 250,000-mile mission from Earth. But now the world knows what incredible people you are as you brought us all along with you on this epic journey of integrity. Over the last 10 days, you tested the SLS rocket, the Orion spacecraft, you manually piloted the vehicle, you performed critical operations, relayed scientific observations, captured inspiring pictures, and of course ventured farther into space than anyone in history on a true test mission. You were, of course, the first crew to fly on this rocket and spacecraft, and that comes with risk. You accepted that risk for what we collectively stood to gain, all that we have now learned from your mission, and for where we will inevitably go from here. But you're not alone. You took all of us along with you, the contributions from the pioneers of decades past, the love of your families here on Earth, and those that were watching over you from the stars. Artemis II was the opening act in America's return to the moon. As we stand here this evening, the mobile launcher is preparing to go back to the VAB. Artemis III will start being assembled, and the next crew will begin preparing to play their part as we return to the lunar surface, we build the base, and we never give up the moon again. Commander Wiseman, Reed, you said in an interview back in February that you hoped this mission would be forgotten, overshadowed by all that was to come after. But I'm very sorry to disappoint you all. Artemis II will always be remembered. It was the moment we all saw the moon again, where childhood dreams became missions. You helped the world start believing again. And this is something no one's ever going to forget. So on behalf of NASA and the space-loving community from around the world, thank you for showing us your courage, your professionalism, your unity, and your humanity. Thank you for showing us the moon again. Thank you for showing us planet Earth again. And thank you for contributing to the greatest adventure in human history. Welcome home, Artemis II. And now it's my honor to turn the floor over to Commander Reed Wiseman.
What's up? Yeah, let's sing. Let's sing real quick. All right, 3, 2, 1.
Integrity.
So we wear these Acta watches, and if you hit this button, the red light lights up, which tells you got a good battery. And I don't know why, but for the last 2 years when we wear these, hey Hopper, for the last 2 years when we wear these things, it just kind of brings us back into focus whenever we get a little distracted. So we did a lot of syncing when we were on this mission for no reason whatsoever. I have absolutely no idea what to say. This is 24 hours ago, the Earth was that big out the window and we were doing Mach 39, and here we are back at Ellington at home. Every one of us are just going to give a couple words, but I get the mic first, so I'm going to start. Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, we are bonded forever, and no one down here is ever going to know what the four of us just went through, and it was the most special thing that will ever happen in my life. And our families are over here, and with the exception of Dot, Susie, and Jeannie, who are in the audience, but I don't know where they are. But Dot, I'm going to hit McDonald's later today in honor of your husband. No one knows what the families went through, man. This was not easy. Being 200,000 plus miles away from home, like before you launch, it feels like it's the greatest dream on Earth. And when you're out there, you just want to get back to your families and your friends. It's a special thing to be a human, and it's a special thing to be on planet Earth. Thank you. Wait, now I got to make a joke. The only person who can follow that up is Victor Glover, so let's go.
And now we're ready for questions. I'm going to keep it brief because I'm afraid to start talking. I have not processed what we just did, and I'm afraid to start even trying. When this started on April 3rd, I wanted to thank God in public, and I want to thank God again, because even bigger than my challenge trying to describe what we went through, the gratitude of seeing what we saw, doing what we did, and being with who I was with, it's too big to just be in one body. And I wanted to thank our families for everything that he just said. So great words, great words, great words. I love you, but not just those 5 beautiful cocoa skin ladies right there. All of you. And I wanted to thank our leadership. And it's changed since we were here in April of 2023. But the qualities haven't. And we are fortunate to be in this agency at this time together. And so I'm going to sit down. Thank you also to our air operations for this facility and for our ride home from San Diego. And I love you. Thank you.
Reed just said it was a setup for us who had to follow him. That's true. I couldn't sleep this morning, so I did write some words down in my mind, and I'm going to try and share them with you today. 10 days ago, this journey started with our mission manager, Sean Duvall, knocking on my door in crew quarters and whispering, "Christina, we're go for launch. Get up." And it ended last night when my nurse on the ship put me to bed and said, "Ma'am, can I get a hug?" So a lot has happened since then, but or between those two moments, but the start and the end were human moments here on Earth. So several years ago, I was giving a speech, and I was doing my usual talk about crew and crewmates and teamwork, and someone asked the question, what makes a crew? What is different about a crew than a team? And I was like, I got this. Opened my mouth confidently to tell them everything I knew about being a crewmate. And everything that came out of my mouth was completely without value. I was like, yeah, crews, they're in space, and they work together, but they eat together too. So, they're a crew. And boats have crews. You're a crew if you're on a boat. Helps if you have a paddle. That'll be good. That'll make you a crew. But the last 10 days, I've gotten a little bit of a better answer on that question. A crew is people, or, a group that is in it all the time, no matter what, that is stroking together every minute with the same purpose, that is willing to sacrifice silently for each other, that gives grace, that holds accountable. A crew has the same cares and the same needs, and a crew is inescapably, beautifully, dutifully linked. So when we saw Tiny Earth, people asked our crew what impressions we had. And honestly, what struck me wasn't necessarily just Earth, it was all the blackness around it. Earth was just this lifeboat hanging undisturbingly in the universe. Uh-oh. So I may have not learned, I know I haven't learned, everything that this journey has yet to teach me. But there's one new thing I know, and that is, planet Earth, you are a crew. Yeah. Thank you.
You guys gotta cut it out, man. Get the ball.
Well, it's been a lot. This isn't helping. But this is the furthest I've been away from Reed in a long time. Thank you. All right, that's better. Thank you. I think, yeah, thank you. I think what I'd like to share today is maybe 3 of the human experiences for us. And you haven't heard us talk a lot about the science, the things we've learned, and that's because they're there, and they're incredible. But it's the human experience that is extraordinary for us. And it sounds like maybe for you too. And so I think I'll start with gratitude. Gratitude for my family, gratitude for NASA, for its leadership, gratitude for Canadian Space Agency, gratitude pour les Canadiennes et les Canadiens, et j'ai hâte de pouvoir revenir avec Reed, Christina, Victor, au Canada. Gratitude for the bravery and the courage for the teams to be no-go when we were no-go and go when we were go. That took a lot. And I don't think people will really ever fully comprehend how well supported and trained we were. It is almost unbelievable. All right, and as my daughter would say, I'll try and stay locked in here. Okay. The next one is joy. We have a term in our crew that we coined a long time ago, the joy train. And I think you saw, sounds like you saw a lot of joy up there. There was a lot of joy. We're not always on the joy train, this crew. There are many times we're not on the joy train. But we are committed to getting back on the joy train as soon as we can. And that is a useful life skill for any team trying to get something done. And the last one is, I need your help for this. Come on up here, guys. The last one is love. What you saw was a group of people who loved contributing, having meaningful contribution, and extracting joy out of that. And what we've been hearing is that was something special for you to witness. And the reason I had them form up here with me is because I would suggest to you that when you look up here, you're not looking at us. We are a mirror reflecting you. And if you like what you see, then just look a little deeper. This is you. Dude, come on.
Wow. Thank you, Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, for your leadership, your integrity, for representing the very best of human exploration. You are the tip of the spear representing all of the ground teams working along your side to make this mission a success. And by the way, welcome home.
Yeah, no,
NASA is committed to working with international partners to successfully accomplish our missions. The U.S.-Canada cooperation for Artemis II marks a historic partnership, with Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen becoming the first non-American to fly around the moon. And now, that's the energy. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Canadian Space Agency President Lisa Campbell.
I know it's not protocol, but come on.
Thanks, Lisa. Thank you.
We're so happy to have you back. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Ça va bien? Everybody's doing well? Excellent. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, it's wonderful to see you safely back on Earth. For the first time in over 50 years, humanity has returned to lunar orbit, and the world was watching. Through your perspective, we saw the Earth in its full complexity and interconnection. And through your dedication, our greatest strengths, ambition, collaboration, ingenuity, took flight once again, bringing humankind further than before. Jeremy, with you representing us on board, and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jenny Gibbons. Dr. Gibbons, right over there. Supporting the mission on console as Artemis Capcom, Canada is incredibly proud to be part of this endeavor. It's a powerful moment for our partners at NASA, for Canada, and for everyone who believes in what humanity can achieve together. Our deep and enduring partnership in space, working side by side in the shuttle era, through the International Space Station, and now through Artemis, all the way past the far side of the moon and back. To our partners at NASA, thank you for this collaboration. Bold leadership, strategic investment, technological expertise brought together across nations. This is what delivers results. And the Artemis program shows us that when we align around common purpose, we can drive prosperity for generations to come. What's happened today, as you said, Administrator, is anchored in decades of leadership and proven expertise. And in Canada, we've invested heavily in robotics in space, so we believe we're well positioned to deliver sought-after capabilities that'll support the infrastructure and autonomy needed for a sustained human presence on the moon, and you've shown us the way. Jeremy, over the last 10 days, you've represented the very best of what it means to be Canadian. You've exemplified our deepest values: discipline, humility, and hard work. And to the Artemis crew, the four of you embodied what teamworks look like at its very best. It was such a pleasure to connect with you live from Canada, even at 3 in the morning. During your mission, it was such a powerful example of unity in action, and we had a full room at 3 and 2 in the morning. Together, this historic journey has reminded us that exploration begins with curiosity and that big dreams are worth pursuing and worth sharing. With your safe return to Earth, you've completed a new chapter in humanity's return to the moon, and we're so proud. Félicitations, Artemis II. Félicitations et bon retour à la maison.
We are proud to have strong bipartisan congressional support for the United States space program, and we're honored to be joined by members of Congress here with us today. Please join me in welcoming U.S. Representative Chairman Brian Babin to the stage.
It's hard to know how to follow something like that. It's unbelievable. Just want to say how honored I am to be representing the 36th Congressional District of the state of Texas, where all these... Thank you. Where all of this is transpiring. And it's hard to describe. I'm a dentist by profession, not an attorney or a wordsmith. I usually turn to my wife to write my speeches and help me to flower them up. But you guys have really inspired us. And Christina, when you answered my question the other night, the most inspiring thing that you would like to relive would be the launch and seeing that eclipse. And Administrator Isaacman sent me the picture of that eclipse, which I have on my phone and which I'm going to blow up and put in my Washington office, too. It is an awesome thing. That's all I can say. You are welcome home. We're so very proud of you. You've inspired not only America and Canada, but the entire world and generations of humans that are going to be coming after you. We're grateful not only for your courage and your commitment, but also for the sacrifices made by your families. As my wife and I have 17 grandkids, I don't like to be away from them more than about 24 hours. So when you're 750,000 miles away, I can only imagine how you want to get back to those beautiful people over there. So I thank you families as well. And your team, the team that has made this entire thing possible. It's not just 4 folks here. It's tens of thousands and many, many years and decades, basically. Over the past 10 days, Artemis II has demonstrated to the world what America is capable of and our international cooperation is capable of. You have traveled farther from Earth than any humans have ever gone before, pushing the boundaries of exploration, reminding us of the pioneering spirit that defines our great country. And that goes for Canada as well. Through years of shifting priorities, technical challenges, budgetary pressures, Congress has maintained a steady continuity of purpose, providing the long-term support necessary to keep the Artemis program moving forward and ensuring America's return to the moon remain the primary objective. And while we celebrate this extraordinary achievement, we must also recognize what it represents. This mission is a critical step forward in achieving President Trump's vision of returning Americans to the moon in 2028, and doing so before our competitors do. And there is still much work ahead, but this moment should renew our confidence, and it most certainly has. The United States is ready for this challenge, and we are ready to lead. And as we lead in space, we carry with us the principles that have always guided us: freedom, innovation, and opportunity. And this is only the beginning of our journey. America is going back to the moon, and this time we are going to stay. Yes. God bless our astronauts. God bless NASA. And God bless America and Canada. Thank you so very, very much. Appreciate you all. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce my friend and colleague, Michael Cloud, from the 27th District, south of me. He's driven up here today to honor us with his presence. And he's also an appropriator. Thank you all very much.
Well, I cannot tell you what an honor it is for me to be here. As a young child, I would look to the stars like so many others, and I actually wanted to be an astronaut. I still want to be an astronaut, truth be told, but it is certainly an honor to be here and to be a part of this historic moment. No doubt of everyone in this room and of the millions watching, perhaps no one feels the gravity of this moment like you do, I'm sure, quite literally. But thank you for all you've done to inspire us to dream again. You and everyone who has supported you. It is, as a father, I have 3 kids, and I know some of you do too, and it's just, for them to have something to look to dream again, to build again, to achieve again. Us as a nation desperately needed this. The world needed this. We needed to see what could be done when we could come together again. I'm reminded of the psalmist in Psalm 8. He said, even as we look to the night sky, and as we look at creation and behold the stars and the moon, we begin to think about what is mankind from God's perspective. And so this trip gave us a different way of looking at ourselves. And the way that you have displayed the best of us has been extraordinary and has given us a perspective as we continue to push ahead into the future. Your travels, your exploration, the years of work, the dedication for you, for your teams, all the prep that goes into this, and yes, as someone mentioned, thankfully, Administrator for mentioning the taxpayer as well involved in this as well, in our job in Congress to steward that. But this is a noble cause. It's a worthy cause. It's worthy of our best efforts as a nation, and thank you for what you've done. You've given us something to dream of in, you've inspired us, and you've given us something that we can build upon for the future. God bless you. Thank you for your work. Thank you, NASA, and all of you here. God bless you. Still hoping.
All right, maybe this thing's working, maybe it isn't. No, Norm, just stay right here. Just stay right here. I'm going to do a NASA go back. But the whole time that we've been training and when we've been in flight, we have called this a relay race. We, the 4 of us, have batons sitting at our desk. They give us all colors. I'm red, you're gold, blue, and green. And when you're up there, you end up kind of identifying yourself as red, gold, blue, and green. We're kind of our colors. So we have those color batons sitting there. But I just want to tell you, and Jared, looking at you and knowing the fortitude that you have and seeing the direction that this agency is going in right now, we would be remiss if the 4 of us didn't look right there and say, it is time to go and be ready, because it takes courage, it takes determination, and you all are freaking going, and we are going to be standing there supporting you every single step of the way in every possible way possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Reed, and thank you to all of our representatives. We could not explore the unknown without your support, and that's for sure. Well, what an incredible milestone. Today, we've celebrated the successful return of a mission that carried humanity back into deep space, captivating millions, inspiring the next generation, and reaffirming the United States' leadership and dominance in both low Earth orbit and the journey back to the moon. To the Artemis II crew, welcome home, and thank you for sharing this mission with all of us. To the workforce across NASA and our partners, this achievement belongs to you. Yes. Your dedication, expertise, and passion made this mission possible. And to everyone watching, this is just the beginning. We are entering a new era of exploration, returning to the moon, building a sustained presence there, and preparing for missions to Mars. And we're glad you're on this journey with us. You can continue to follow NASA and Artemis on NASA Plus and across our social channels. But before we close, let's bring our crew back to center stage one more time for a big Texas round of applause and a big welcome home.
Integrity, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
From Integrity, we are ready for the event.
NASA Public Affairs Office, please call Integrity for a voice check.
Integrity, this is NASA PAO Courtney Beasley. How do you hear me? Integrity, this is NASA PAO Courtney Beasley. How do you hear me?
Hey, Courtney, we hear you, but you are very low.
Okay, I will try to talk a little bit louder. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, it's great to see you today. We have a room filled with media eager to talk to you.
Courtney, we have you loud and clear.
Wonderful. We have a room full of media ready to talk to you today, and we also have them on our phone bridge. We have a limited amount of time, so we're going to go ahead and hop straight into questions. We'll start here in the room with Marcia Dunn. Go ahead.
Marcia Dunn, Associated Press for you, Reed. Could you please describe your emotions when Jeremy called down to Mission Control to ask permission to name a lunar crater after your late wife, Carol? It was a pretty emotional, powerful moment down here.
Marcia, it was a powerful moment up here as well. My crewmates approached me when we were at Kennedy in quarantine, and they said, hey, the three of them had talked and they would like to do this. And that was an emotional moment for me. And I just thought that was just a total treasure that they had thought through this and they had offered this. And I said, absolutely, I would love that. I think that's just the best. And I said, but I can't give the speech. I can't give the talk. And Jeremy, the kind of guy he is, he said he would do it. And it was getting emotional there. And I think when Jeremy spelled Carol's name, Carroll, I think for me, that's when I was overwhelmed with emotion. And I looked over and Christina was crying. I put my hand down on Jeremy's hand as he was still talking. It was right there on that rail. And I could just tell he was trembling, and we all pretty much broke down right there. And just for me personally, that was kind of the pinnacle moment of the mission for me. That was, I think, where the four of us were the most forged, the most bonded, and we came out of that really focused on that day ahead. I think that was a very caging moment for the four of us. Thank you for that question, and it was a great moment.
We'll take our next question in the room here from Joey. Go ahead.
Thanks. Joey Roulette with Reuters. I'm curious, Reed, and for anyone else who wants to answer it, how has this mission changed you guys personally and your views of the moon? These photos make it look kind of intimidating and beastly, and just curious to hear your thoughts on how you guys have also changed during this mission personally. Thank you.
I had an opportunity earlier to answer this question from my own perspective, and we have seen just some extraordinary things that I thought we might see. They looked similar to what I thought they might look like, and other things that I just had never even imagined. And those were different perspectives that we saw these things from, but I have to say, it hasn't changed my perspective or the perspective that I launched with. The perspective I launched with was that we live on a fragile planet in the vacuum, in the void of space. We know this from science. We're very fortunate to live on planet Earth. And the other perspective that I've sort of learned from others through life is that our purpose on the planet as humans is to find joy, to find the joy in lifting each other up by creating solutions together instead of destroying. And when you see it from out here, it doesn't change it. It just absolutely reaffirms that. It's almost like seeing living proof of it.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take one more question here in the room and then head to our phone bridge. If you are on the phone bridge and have a question, just a reminder to press *1. Jackie, go ahead.
Hi, Integrity. It's so wonderful to speak with you. This is Jackie Waddles with CNN. Obviously, there is a huge moment coming up with reentry. Can you describe your feelings, how you're preparing for that moment mentally and physically? And then as you prepare for the end of the journey, what are some moments that you know that you'll take with you for the rest of your life from this journey? Thank you.
You know, it started off sounding like an easy question for me to answer, and then it got really big. But I guess the entry thing, I'll be honest and say I've actually been thinking about entry since April 3rd, 2023, when we got assigned to this mission. And one of the first press conferences we were asked, what are we looking forward to? And I said splashdown, and it's kind of humorous, but it's literal as well, that we have to get back. There's so much data that you've seen already, but all the good stuff is coming back with us. There's so many more pictures, so many more stories. And gosh, I haven't even begun to process what we've been through. We've still got 2 more days. And riding a fireball through the atmosphere is profound as well. So I have to answer that question later. I'm not sure, but I can tell you it's a lot. And lifelong memories. I'm going to be thinking about and talking about all of these things for the rest of my life, for sure. Yep.
All right, we'll head over to our phone bridge. Our first question there is from Kelly Malone with Canadian Press. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Kelly Malone with the Canadian Press. There's a lot of excitement about scientific advancements as a result of the mission. You just spoke about the data, and I know you've spoken about training on robotics in Montreal. What are the takeaways from the mission so far that might be applied to robotics or other international tech efforts in the future? And just a quick personal note for Jeremy. I'm told you got a surprise message from your family. Can you share what it was like to hear from them?
Advancements in robotics? Well, when I think about the Artemis program in general, we've already seen some investments in pushing robotic technology forward for deep space that we're going to see put to good use in one way or another. And this is the beauty of this program that brings an international collaboration, sets big goals, and doesn't just talk about them, but goes after them and gets it done. We're going to need the advances in robotics. It's really hard out here. We're a long way from home. We've been learning the entire journey. We've been watching Mission Control learn. You do a lot of testing on the ground, but your final test is when you get this hardware to space, and it's a doozy. And our team has just performed. They've just knocked it out of the park, but it doesn't mean it might look easy from the outside. We can tell they are working so hard on the ground to do this, and we really appreciate them. And so when we get these next generation robotics on the surface of the moon and out in deep space, there's going to be some challenges, there's going to be some failures along the way, and there's going to be some learning that happens. On the personal note, yes, I had some videos from all of my family, my 3 children, Devin, Ashley, and Caitlin, and my wife, Catherine. And when you're out in deep space by the moon and you are listening to a video they recorded for you before you launch, that's something.
We all had it so great. Yep.
Okay, our next question is from Micah Maidenberg with the Wall Street Journal.
Hi, good evening. For anybody who'd like to answer, how do you think the flight has contributed to the broader Artemis program? Of course, it's not over yet, but what do you think the crew has already brought to the table for the next couple of missions? Thank you.
Well, I love this question because part of our ethos as a crew and our values from the very beginning were that this is a relay race. In fact, we have batons that we bought to symbolize physically that. We plan to hand them to the next crew, and every single thing that we do is with them in mind. Oftentimes, it's actually easier in human spaceflight, especially on a first mission, to accept some of the things that aren't working quite right or the operational workarounds. And we have actually been diligent to try to fix everything, and we're always thinking from the perspective as what is the next crew going to think about this? How will this help them to succeed? So manual piloting the vehicle, making sure that the procedures and the processes for making everything work are all as they should be. Then there's the human side of it. How are our provisions? How are our food? How is the human system working in here? Taking the time to do all of the developmental flight test objectives that have been scheduled. So both in the vehicle and all in the last 3 years, we've really just worked to make sure that they are set up for success, and that's all of the teams, not just the crew, but the flight control teams, the mission engineering rooms, the launch teams, everyone. Hopefully, we've done our best to bring folks together and to make sure that we can be the best we can be. Obviously, just testing, putting humans in this vehicle is the easy thing to see, and we hope that we've capitalized on that and made it as much as it can be for our time here.
Our next question is from Alex Wilson with the Weather Channel.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for your time. You're space experts, yet time and time again, we've heard you amazed by things that you've seen on this mission. So what has been the biggest scientific surprise or discovery for you?
The whole mission, truly the whole mission, but we saw really amazing simulations made by our lunar science team about what the eclipse would look like when the moon was 30, 35 times bigger than the sun. But seeing that,
communications, we should be regaining them here.
We lost your video and handheld mic audio stream. We are troubleshooting.
All right, Jenny, we see the issue and we're correcting it. We'll probably need about 30 seconds and then we should be streaming again.
Copy. Sounds great. Thank you.
okay, comm check. How about now? Are we back with you?
And Jenny, how much of Victor's answer did you hear?
Yeah, we have you back, video, and the handheld mic seems to be back up too, and Victor should repeat his answer. Over to PAO.
Okay, the thing that we saw that really surprised me the most is we trained to view the eclipse from the far side of the moon, or after going beyond the far side of the moon. We saw great simulations made by our lunar science team, but when that actually happened, it just blew us all away. I mean, you heard the reaction real time. But it was the fact that we trained for it And it almost was a thing that we were, I don't want to say unhappy about, but launching on April 1st meant the far side wasn't as illuminated as we were hoping. And so, that thing seemed to be a consolation, and it was one of the greatest gifts of that part of the mission.
Okay, we'll come back here in the room to Andrea. Go ahead.
Hi, Andrea Leinfelder with the Houston Chronicle. I'd like to hear about life inside Orion. Christina, in the fall you said the capsule would feel bigger in microgravity. Does it feel bigger? And at what moments do you find that you're bumping into your crewmates, and what tips will you be given to future crews?
Wow, we have loved living in Orion, and in fact, we've all said that sometimes you can forget where you really are because we're in this small space that just gives us everything we need. But the answer to your question is yes, it is bigger in microgravity, and yes, we are bumping into each other 100% of the time. A phrase that you often hear in the cabin is, "Don't move your foot, I'm just going to reach for something right under it," or, "Can I get there? And my goal is to get over there." And we're constantly moving around, whether it's to complete a task, to just eat, to look out the window, to take a picture. Everything we do in here is a 4-person activity. But it's also really fun.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Will. Go ahead.
Thank you, Will Robinson Smith with Spaceflight Now. It's good to talk with you all. Victor, I want to go to a comment that you made a couple of hours into the lunar observations. You said, and I quote you here, "The Terminator is calling to me." What was it about the observation of the Terminator specifically that was so captivating for you and the rest of your crew? Thank you.
One being 3,500 miles from it. I mean, it was so big, and now it wasn't an image on a screen, but it was all of the things we had talked about in training, the terrain, how you can see features based on how high they are above the surface and how low things were. And there were holes that, craters that appeared to just be endless bottomless pits, and then peaks that seemed to be, I couldn't tell how high, but you could just really get a sense of the relief down on the surface. And to look down on it from so close or over at it from so close was just, it was hard to describe. When you are in an airplane flying back past, Flagstaff, you're looking out the window trying to, identify Meteor Crater, or looking out trying to find the Grand Canyon. And this was the same thing. But imagine if you had seen Meteor Crater or the Grand Canyon for the first time.
Our next question is from the phone bridge from Lauren Grush with Bloomberg.
Hi, so great to talk to you for. The world has been watching along with your journey with such enthusiasm and joy. Do you have any sense or feedback of how your mission has reached the masses back on Earth? And does that influence you at all when you speak and narrate your journey?
Thank you for this question. We have had, I'm going to answer it a little bit differently than it was asked, but I'll get there in a second. But we have had a chance, the four of us, we've had 2 opportunities each to have very brief video chats with our families. And I will tell you, first of all, the 4 of us are now forged in a friendship that is very unique, and we will cherish this bond that we share for the rest of our lives. And then one of the neatest things being a crewmate on this spacecraft has been is not being in the family conference, but hearing your crewmates giggling and crying and just gasping and listening and loving their families from afar. Family is so important to all 4 of us, and that has been amazing. And when I got to talk to my daughters, Ellie and Katie, for the first time, I just couldn't even speak. I was just so overjoyed. I was crying. I mean, it is an amazing experience. But what also came from that is really our source of news on planet Earth. And those family members have been our source of how the mission is going from the public perspective. Obviously, they're all biased. Although most of our kids are teenagers, so maybe they're not quite that biased, but they're biased. But
what we had really hoped, and we said it a lot before, I mean, we really are here to serve NASA, to serve our two nations, Canadian Space Agency, NASA, and the international community, and we're here to serve for Artemis 3. But what we really hoped in our soul is that we could, for just a moment, have the world pause and remember that this is a beautiful planet in a very special place in our universe, and we should all cherish what we have been gifted. And I think for the folks that decided to tune in, and it sounds like it was quite a few, this has happened, and for that, we are eternally grateful.
Our next question is from Noah Haggerty with the Los Angeles Times.
Hey, great to hear from you all. You had 40 minutes of a pretty profound solitude. You were, farther from Earth than any humans before you. No means to communicate with Earth. It was really just the four of you, the spacecraft, and the moon. Can you talk us through what that moment felt like?
Well, Courtney's running this press conference, and she knows I always speak the truth, sometimes with a little bit of embellishment. But I will tell you exactly as it went. When we watched that Earth eclipse behind the moon, wow, I'm actually getting chills right now just thinking about. My palms are sweating. But it is amazing to watch your home planet disappear behind the moon. You could see the atmosphere. You could actually see the terrain in the moon projected across the Earth as the Earth was eclipsing behind the moon. It was just an unbelievable sight. And then it was gone. It was out of sight. And we took a moment here. We had a lot of scientific work to do right there. That was probably the most critical lunar observations for our geology team. But the four of us took a moment. We shared maple cookies that Jeremy had brought, and we took about 3 or 4 minutes just as a crew to really reflect on where we were, and then it was right back into the science. And it is a surreal feeling, but we had a lot of work to do too, and I think that kept our focus. And so it's only come later, and we still haven't even begun to reflect on this mission. We had a little bit of a light work day yesterday, and we were starting to journal and reflect a little bit. And there's a lot that our brains have to process. Human minds should not go through what these just went through, and it is a true gift. And we have a lot that we just need to think about and journal and write, and then we'll get the full feeling of what we just went through.
Take our last question here in the room. Go ahead.
Hello, Artemis crew. This is Rebecca Morell from BBC News. Now you're almost home. What will you miss most about being in space, and what won't you miss at all?
Well, first of all, thank you for that question. I will miss this camaraderie. I will miss being this close with this many people and having a common purpose, a common mission, getting to work on it hard every day across hundreds of thousands of miles with a team on the ground. This sense of teamwork is something that you don't usually get as an adult. I mean, we are close brothers and sisters. 100%. And that is a privilege we will never have again. I have to say, I don't think there's anything I would say I won't miss or that I'm just ready to be over, because this whole thing is a package. We can't explore deeper unless we are doing a few things that are inconvenient, unless we're making a few sacrifices, unless we're taking a few risks, and those things are all worth it.
All right, that's unfortunately all of the time we have for today. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, you have captivated the world through this mission. We're all watching, we're all cheering you on, and we can't wait to welcome you home in a few days. Thanks for joining.
It was great hearing your voice again, Courtney. Take care.
Integrity, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
Thank you to all the participants. Integrity, we are now resuming operational audio communications.
Artemis 2 mission is a test mission of the Orion space capsule.
Artemis 2 will be the first time we put humans on this rocket.
We're going back to the moon because it's the next step in our journey to Mars.
We were always going to the moon.
Pushing ourselves to explore is just core to who we are. That's a part of being a human.
And liftoff. We shall return.
Continuing to test out every bit of Orion.
Coming back to Earth, 7 miles a second.
When humanity sets big goals, we can bring together genius from around the world.
You have the best people on planet Earth putting this vehicle together.
That's what's up. To innovate for the benefit of humanity and to inspire the world through discovery.
And here we go.
Main chute deploy. And we have 3 good main chutes.
Houston Integrity, splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Splashdown confirmed.
Copy splashdown, waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time.
The Artemis 2 astronauts are back on Earth, landing in the Pacific Ocean at 7:07 p.m. Central Time this evening, after NASA's record-setting mission that took them around the moon and brought them home. Good evening and welcome to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. I'm Rachel Kraft with NASA Communications. Several leaders to talk about the successful mission. They are Amit Kshatriya, Associate Administrator, Dr. Lori Glaze, Head of the Artemis programs, Rick Henfling, Entry Flight Director, Howard Hugh, Orion Program Manager, and Sean Quinn, Exploration Ground Systems Program Manager. We'll hear briefly from them and then take questions from here in the room and on the phone. And with that, we'll start with Amit.
Good evening. Yesterday when we were in this room, we told you that the crew would put their lives behind our confidence, and they did. Yesterday in this room, we told you that today belongs to the engineers and technicians who touched this machine, and it does, and their work was good. Welders at Michoud shaped the heat shield and joined the rocket. Technicians at Kennedy packed parachutes, stacked the vehicle, stacked Orion, stacked SLS. Engineers in Bremen, Torino, and across the Alliance built a service module. Workers at Utah cast the boosters. Teams at Stennis fired the engines. Flight controllers in this building in Houston sat console for 10 days straight and sat silent in the night for 6 minutes while plasma took the signal. Navy divers pulled the crew out of the Pacific in an incredible way. The vehicle spoke for all of them. And at 25,000 feet per second, it said the work was good. As we say in our business, physics votes last. The families of the crew said this week there had been happiness and joy, but also anxiety, wanting to get their loved ones home safely. I was with them tonight. 4 families sat through those 6 minutes, and their courage is the same as the crew that just came home. Yesterday, Flight Director Jeff Radigan said we had less than a degree of an angle to hit after 250,000 miles to the moon. And their team hit it. That is not luck. That is 1,000 people doing their jobs. You all heard the crew's words during the mission. They were incredibly inspirational. They carried the torch from Apollo through station and around the far side of the moon. Their words belong to them. We'll get to hear from them as soon as they're back here. But tonight belongs to the team that built the machine that they wrote. We talk a lot about what gets in our way. The impediment to action is where we find the way to get to action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This program faced every obstacle an institution could face. The team met each one with work, and tonight is the proof. But that work needs to continue. The path to the lunar surface is open, but the work ahead is greater than the work behind us. It always will be. 53 years ago, humanity left the moon. This time we return to stay. Let us finish what they started. Let us focus on what was left undone. Let us not go to plant flags and leave, but to stay. With firmness in our purpose, with gratitude for the hands who built the machines, and with love for the ones that we carry with us. Welcome home, Integrity. I'll hand it over to Dr. Glaze.
Thank you so much, Amit. So, y'all, we did it. We sent 4 amazing people to the moon and safely returned them to Earth for the first time in more than 50 years. To the generation that now knows what we're capable of, welcome to our moonshot. I want to thank our entire team across this nation and around the world who gave every ounce of ingenuity and effort to make. I am so proud of each and every one of you, what you have achieved over the last 10 days. NASA has shown that ambitious goals are worth pursuing and can inspire the world. We are so thrilled to have Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy back here on Earth and safely aboard the USS John P. Murtha. Our team is fired up, and this mission, as we've been talking about, is just the beginning. To all of our new followers out there, please stay tuned. This is the first mission, our first mission to the moon, of many more to come. And we can't wait. Our teams are so ready to get to work on the next missions and explore the lunar surface and bring the world along with us. I'll pass it over to Rick.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you all for your continued interest in this mission. What a truly spectacular day it was for NASA and all of our international partners. This crew has said time and again that they were going for all of humanity, and today we fulfilled that objective by completing their journey and returning them safely to Earth. I've got a few stats for those who are interested, courtesy of the Flight Dynamics Officer in Mission Control. Integrity and her crew, 4 astronauts, flew 700,237 miles. We reached a peak velocity of 24,664 miles per hour. We hit our flight path angle target within 0.4%. We flew an entry range of 1,957 miles, and we landed within less than a mile of our target. What a tremendous day. Over to Howard.
Thank you, Rick, and thank you to the Flight Control team. What an outstanding job. Wow, what a fantastic day. I mean, we've dreamed as a team of reaching this day, and appreciate Amit's comments. I mean, so many people have worked very hard, tirelessly to get this day. I think this mission has been historic and has demonstrated new capabilities for Orion spacecraft, has taken our crew farther than any crews that have ever gone to the moon and back safely. 252,756 miles. And that is a fantastic feat. We got a lot more to do. And I'm so happy that we get to have this moment, but we're going to have a lot of these moments coming up. And I want to thank the entire Orion team. They have worked tirelessly. They've dedicated many hours. They've committed to excellence and innovated and attacked challenges that we've come up with for both our NASA team, our industry partners, and our European team as well. We did it together. We brought the crew home safely. They deserve a round of applause. It was a terrific day for them as well. And I want to thank the crew. They have been a fantastic inspiration to our teams as well. You've heard their messages. We are so happy they're back on the ground. We can't wait to see them as well. And finally, we've learned a lot from this mission. Number one was bringing the crews home safely, but it's also a test flight. And like Amit said, we have a work ahead of us to be done. We're going to learn from this mission. We're going to look at the data, and we're going to move forward. This is the start of a new era of human space exploration. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Howard. What an incredible end to an incredible mission. I got to tell you, I think I'm trying to pick out the best thing that happened today, and I'll just say that we were sitting in the back room getting ready for this press conference, and Howard gets a call from Reed Weissman, the commander of Integrity, and it was so great to hear his voice and tell us that all the crew is okay, and we can say that we did our mission. We accomplished what we set out to do. I'm very proud of the efforts of the Exploration Ground Systems team that supported both the launch and recovery operations alongside our Navy partners. All the hard work and dedication over the last couple years paid off today, and the team did a great job. Our recovery teams are currently in the process of bringing Orion back on the well deck of the ship, and hopefully within about 4 or 5 hours, it'll be hard down in the back end of the USS Martha. It's good to be NASA. It's good to be an American today. Thank you.
All right, it's time now for questions. We'll start here in the room and take several from the phone. For those on the phone, you can press *1 to get into the question queue, and please limit to one question if you can. We'll start here with Joey.
Thanks so much. Joey Roulette with Reuters, and congrats on a really nice mission. Curious to hear more about how the astronauts are doing, where are they going to sleep tonight, and then also, when do you guys expect to announce the crew for Artemis 3? Thanks.
So the answer to your second question, Joey, is soon. I will not put units on that value, but soon. Rick, you want to talk about the crew, what they're doing?
Yeah, we saw the crew a number of times after they got out of the spacecraft. We saw them on the front porch. Everybody was happy and healthy. I saw Victor as he was sitting on the edge of the helicopter on the flight deck of the ship, and he was smiling and in good spirits. And everything we've been hearing from the surgeons is the flight crew is happy and healthy and ready to come home to Houston.
Hi, Lauren Grush with Bloomberg. Congratulations again. You know, obviously, it's been such a great mission to watch from start to finish, but I guess I'm wondering if you had to categorize, you know, this was a test flight. What would you say is the issue that you feel maybe the most grateful arose during this mission so that you could apply that lesson learned to the next?
Maybe you.
Like me,
Howard, why don't you take that one?
Yeah, I think we're taking a lot of lessons learned. Certainly, learning about how the crew operates a spaceship has been a really great learning experience, and flying and ability for them to test drive for our spacecraft has been good. I think, as we mentioned previously, our pressure control assembly, where we discovered a leakage through the system. I think we learned a lot about that. That is a new finding. Certainly, we're going to go investigate that. We're going to look at that and move forward to make sure that we make some changes if necessary, but we'll get all the data and we'll go forward from there.
Marsha.
Associated Press, Marcia Dunn. The administrator described the crew as great communicators, almost poets. How is, this is going to be a tough act to follow for the upcoming crews soon to be picked. Talk about this crew in particular and what they brought to this that went beyond the scientific and the research and the engineering, please.
I'll just say that this particular crew, they've gotten to know each other so well. So each of them individually are just absolutely amazing individuals. But they, as a group, you could watch them and what they brought as you watch them in Orion over the last 10 days, operating just seamlessly between the four of them, just the teamwork, the camaraderie, I think they really brought an amazing sense of what we're trying to achieve with this mission. It's the mission for all humanity, a mission for all, and they really did represent that and tried to communicate that. I do know that our entire astronaut corps is spectacular, and so I have no doubt that the next teams will also rise to that level.
Jackie.
Hi, all. Jackie Waddles, CNN. Congratulations. Question for Rick. I'm really anxious to hear what that blackout during reentry was like for you. And also just wanted to ask, that splashdown target being less than a mile off is incredible. Can you walk us through if anything, was outside of ordinary? I know we heard on comms there were some sensor issues just before entry interface. Just curious to hear more about that. Thanks.
Sure. So, blackout, there's really no beating around the bush with that. It's a difficult time because the flight control team wants to see data. We want to look at the data. We want to be able to provide input to the flight crew on how to fly their spaceship. And when we don't have data, we're trying to figure out what to do with ourselves. But we knew when blackout was going to start. It started when we expected. We knew when it was going to end. It ended when we expected. And so that gave us the trust that the spaceship was flying itself correctly. As far as some of the cautions and things that came up on the way down, The prop cautions, they were, we think that, again, that was learning of the spacecraft. Some of the limits are set a little bit tighter than we probably should have had them set, and we dispositioned those and moved on. As far as the comms post-landing, we don't quite know what was going on there, but we worked around it. We had comms with the recovery team, and we safely handed over the mission authority at the right time.
Okay, Josh.
Hi, Josh Denner, space.com. Really excited to hear that the crew is doing well. I'm interested, we saw Victor sitting on the edge of that helicopter once they landed on the ship, and it was great to see them all, walk across the deck. They were set to do an emergency egress test with a ladder, a backpack, I'm wondering if they've performed that yet, how soon they will be performing it, if they have, how it went.
I'm not familiar with an emergency egress test post-landing. Given that this was a test mission, the number one goal was to get the flight crew out of the spaceship as fast as we could, and we weren't looking at any post-landing objectives.
Yeah, we did do, I think, back when we were back on the launch pad, we did, during the CDDT, we did an emergency egress, but that's the only one I'm aware of that is that test. Yeah, but we'll check on it for you.
Eric.
Eric Berger, Ars Technica. Congratulations on making what I know is really hard look easy. It was a beautiful mission. Amit, you said the work ahead is greater than the work behind us. Can you talk about, as sort of NASA rises to these far greater challenges in Artemis 3, Artemis 4, and building the moon base, how important it is for you and the agency to be flying humans in deep space again and sort of to be at an operational cadence? This has to be pretty uplifting to the workforce to put the 50 years of not being back to the moon behind us.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, flight cadence and iteration is the key to reliability and safety. You know, we were waiting to fly this mission for several years. A lot of that was because of the issues we saw during Artemis 1 and making sure we did that the right way, and we tried to make sure the machine was perfect before we flew it. But the real way to do that is to keep iterating, to keep flying, keep learning, keep getting data in the flight environment. So that piece of how we've changed the architecture and demanding that higher cadence is going to be, I would say, mandatory for us to be successful. We need that muscle memory to exist. We need the data to keep coming in, and we need to be able to quickly iterate and change the machine as we learn from it. Everything we learned from Artemis 2, we're going to get right after it, but I would say it's essential.
Okay, Irene.
Irene Klotz with Aviation Week and Space Technology for Amit. What do you think will be your biggest challenge to ensure that this mantle and responsibility of inheriting what Apollo did does not end like Apollo?
I think we talked about this a little bit before. You know, what the architects of Apollo, Gilruth, von Braun, Siemens, Mueller, what they really wanted to do when they were given the challenge of expanding the range of action to the moon was to learn to live and work in space for a long time. They wanted to do that first. I talked a little bit about this with Rob earlier. I think, and of course, because of the nature of the environment they were in, they were in a race. They achieved their objectives. They were geopolitical as well as technological. But once it was done, it was done. And I think the foundation they wanted to build on is what we went to afterwards. So we wanted to, investigate reusability with shuttle. We did that. We wanted to learn to live in space for a long time with station. We've got to that point now, 25 years of occupation. And now it's interesting. I think where we are with the program is kind of where they wanted us to be before they decided to go do that, to actually enable a sustainable presence, to learn how to live and work there for a long time. So, it's a weird irony of history that, it took that long for us to do that, but we weren't sitting idle while that happened. We developed the capability to have an enduring presence, in space, and now we're going to take advantage of that now that we've reached back to the moon.
Okay, we'll take one more in the room from Ken Chang, and then we'll go take several from the phone.
Hi, Ken Chang from New York Times. I guess for Rick and everybody else, could you talk about what the last 13 minutes were like? There had to have been some anxiety, and what was the moment where you could finally relax, and when did you start celebrating in Mission Control?
Well, certainly there's anxiety. If you didn't have anxiety bringing this spacecraft home, you probably didn't have a pulse. I have a lot of trust in my team. We've got all flight controllers in the room on entry day went through a rigorous training process, and they are the system experts on their respective part of the spacecraft. And so while there's anxiety, there's a lot of confidence because the team is there to do a job, and we've trained well, and we executed well. We all breathed a sigh of relief once the side hatch opened up. That's when we brought the team in. We said a few words to the flight controllers, and then we turned around to the families and waved to the families and gave them a thumbs up. And we all watched as a flight control team as each of the 4 astronauts got out of the spaceship and were hoisted up onto the helicopters. It was a great day.
Okay, we'll take several questions from the phone now. The first one is from Micah Maidenberg with the Wall Street Journal.
Hey, good evening. Question for Lori or Howard. I know it's very, very early here, but any initial thinking about the heat shield performance relative to Artemis 1? And could you walk through how the heat shield will be assessed in the coming weeks and months? Thanks so much.
So I'll just start, and then I'll hand it over to Howard. How's that? So, initially, we gathered a lot of data already. Certainly, you saw there were aircraft that were positioned in order to do some imagery and collect data. So we've got some of those data that can be analyzed in the coming days and weeks. We also had divers below the surface that took imaging of the heat shield before it was brought onto the Mertha, so that we could understand exactly what state it's in after it landed. And so I think we've already begun the data gathering piece of it. I'm sure there'll be more assessments once we get on the ship. And then Howard, why don't you talk kind of what the next steps are?
Yeah, we already have 2 of our heat shield experts on board the ship. And so when we get the crew module into the well deck, and we'll do some inspections right off the bat. Like Lori said, we've got underwater divers that are taking pictures. And then after that, once we've inspected that on the ship, we'll transfer back to Kennedy Space Center. We'll have opportunity to look in detail and do scans of the heat shield, and we'll have a lot of good data from that. We also captured a lot of great imagery. Obviously, we haven't had time to digest all that data, but we will in the next several days and make sure we understand if there's anything that happened that was anomalous. But we're very excited. The team is very excited to get that data from both the imagery and seeing it live in person.
Next up is Jackie Mogensen with Scientific American.
Hi, thanks for this. I wanted to follow up on one of the earlier questions about the astronauts. I was curious if it might be possible to tell us a little bit more, if we know, about what the astronauts will be doing in their first days back on Earth, what their first meal might be or activities with their families. Thanks so much.
Well, the top priority is going to be to get them promptly back to their families here in Houston. As far as the specifics, I'm sure each of the crew members has something special planned with their families, and that'll be the priority, is for them to take some time and spend with their loved ones.
Yeah, I'm not sure we answered it, but we do anticipate them arriving back here in Houston 12 to 24 hours after splashdown, so that would be between 7 in the morning and 7 in the evening tomorrow.
Next on the phone is Jeff Faust with Space News.
Good evening. I wonder if you can talk through what the processing of the Orion spacecraft is going to be now that it's back. What point do you sort of extract all of the lessons learned from the mission and start applying them to Artemis 3 in order to have that mission ready to go launch in about a year's time? Thanks.
Yeah, we will have what we call a quick initial 30-day report that we'll put together. Every team will be doing their due diligence and analyzing all the data we have. The crew module will get transported back to Kennedy Space Center. Sean's team, Exploration Ground Systems, is going to decontaminate the vehicle in terms of the propulsion system has hydrazine, and so we'll be working through that. In the meantime, we'll be pulling hardware off the boat in parallel with other activities, and when we get back to Kennedy Space Center, we've got about 286 components we're going to reuse in future missions already, and then we're going to look at other components and determine if we can reuse those as well. A lot of work, not only on the hardware flow, but also all the analysis of the data we're going to need going forward to learn from this mission and carry forward for Artemis 3 and beyond.
Okay, we'll take one more from the phone and then come back here into the room. The next question is from Richard Trudeau with Orlando Sentinel.
Hi. Thanks again for taking the time. This is another question for Howard. For Artemis 3, is the docking system that you have to do with Blue Origin and/or SpaceX, is that at what point would that system be sort of in place on the new capsule? And I guess for Amit, how are your two contractors progressing toward having something that can actually go up there on your timeline? Thanks.
Okay, I'll start with our docking system. Our docking system is ready to go. It's already been qualified. We've already got the flight unit at Kennedy Space Center. Later this summer, we'll integrate it on top of the crew module. And we've done a lot of testing already, so the final part is actually the mechanical mating of the docking hatch and the docking mechanism itself. And so we have a standard way of doing dockings in space that we expect Blue Origin and SpaceX to work with us on and accomplish that mission.
Yeah, and as far as the other part, I think, we're in a massive test campaign. We've got a huge test coming up of the Blue Origin Mark 1 lander, which will be the kind of smaller version of the lander they want to use to attempt the landing missions. There's going to be a test flight of that this year. We also have the test of the Block 3 Starship and Super Heavy, which is coming up hopefully in a few weeks here. So, every day in this program, we're going to be testing big machines, and we're just going to keep getting side by side with them to help them make progress.
Okay, Jackie, and then we'll come back to the other side of the room.
Thank you, Jackie Goddard for the Times of London. My question is for Howard. As a little boy, you were inspired by Star Wars. I wondered if today is better for you than Star Wars, and for future space travelers looking back at today, what should they see as being the significance? Thank you.
Wow, you might be watching my old interviews or something, but I would say 1,000, I don't know what the number is, thousands of times better. I would say that I shared a moment with my father. He took me to see Star Wars. He's not alive today. I wish he was, because that little kid who saw and was inspired by the stars, and now we're able to send our crew out to the stars, the farthest any humans have been. I mean, I can't even express just how I feel and the goosebumps I have. And I would say that for all the kids out there, I mean, just pursue the dreams. I can't say any better than the crews. I tell my kids also, pursue what you're passionate about. And my passion is a space program. My passion is NASA. And I was able to accomplish that today and hopefully many more days going forward. But you have opportunity to do what you are passionate about. And hopefully those kids who are in love with human spaceflight, in love with going to the stars, will be inspired by us, especially by our crews. And come join NASA. Come work for us. We got a lot of missions ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Ariel Multzatsos from Televisa Univision. The only mission until today that for which the communications blackout lasted 6 minutes was Apollo 13, if I am not mistaken. Today's lasted 6 minutes, around 6 minutes. Does that say anything about the design of the ship, or what is the reason behind that? And also, very quickly, can we see a Hispanic in one of the next missions of Artemis? Thank you very much.
As far as the duration of the blackout, a lot of that, that's just dictated by the physics of the approach trajectory. The Orion spacecraft, when you get enveloped by plasma that's thousands of degrees, the radio frequency of the antennas just can't shoot through that. On the space shuttle, we were lucky we had the tail, and we had an antenna up on the tail, and it took us a while to figure that out, that was a way to keep calm. For Orion, it was 6 minutes, but it was predicted, and it played out exactly as we predicted, so that just gave us confidence that it was flying the way it was supposed to.
Will.
Hi, thank you. Will Robinson-Smith with Spaceflight Now, and congratulations again tonight. A question for Rick. The whole flight operations team has been exceedingly busy throughout the course of this mission, in preparation for this mission. I imagine there will be a little bit of breathing room now that the crew is back safely on Earth, but when do you kind of get the band back together to start prepping for Artemis 3? And will it be the same complement of flight directors that we saw for Artemis 2? Thank you.
Well, you're right that the next mission is right around the corner, and we'll take the lessons learned from Artemis 2. We learned a bunch on how to fly people in space, both from a vehicle operations, but also from how to run a control room with a deep space mission. And when the time is right, we'll get back into flight-specific training. And we've got a core group of about 30 flight directors, and they're all extremely capable. And I think anybody who's assigned to that next mission is going to be as successful as the three of us, myself, Judd, and Jeff.
Yes, we'll take you.
Tom Clark with Sky News. Congratulations on a very successful mission. Amit, you spoke yesterday of there only being irrational fears. I wonder if you succumbed to any, and if so, what they were. But more after such a successful test flight, how much of a boost is this to NASA's confidence in its wider mission to stay on the moon?
I mean, for the campaign, this is a huge step, for us to build confidence, not just in our understanding of how this machine performs, but just that this organization can rise to the standard of qualifying a vehicle like this for crewed flight. I think that's huge. It took a lot of discipline and a lot of changes between Artemis 1 and now to get there, and the team really rose to the equation. These folks here, they did a tremendous job of instilling the amount of discipline and rigor and belief in the qualification standards to make sure this is going to work. And so to me, that was almost the biggest objective of this mission, was to prove to ourselves that we could move to crewed flight, but maintain the same level of risk knowledge and understanding, but also really focus on what that looks like. To your point, it is when you fly the crew, when you fly any crew, you can be paralyzed. You can almost be paralyzed by risk because you become so close to them. You understand what's at stake when you with the families. You understand what's at stake. But the crew knows this, and we have to do it too, but organizationally understand that what we do is we take calculated risks, and that it's going to take risks to explore. But you have to make sure you find the right line between being paralyzed by it and being able to manage it and bound it the right way.
Okay, Andrea. And then after that, we'll come to Michael, and then take several on the phone.
Andrea Leinfelder of the Houston Chronicle. This question's for Rick. I enjoyed seeing the flight controllers storm into White Flight Control Room, and I was just wondering, were those the controllers from the back room? Were there people who were off duty who just couldn't be away? And why was it important to open the room to them and to let more of the Houston workforce celebrate that moment? Thanks.
That was anybody. I made a call out to anybody who had worked the mission, no matter what shift or what room you were sitting in, to come into the room and just soak in the moment with the rest of the operations team. They all deserved it. They worked tremendously hard, both pre-flight and during the mission, and it was a time for us to celebrate together before celebrating outside of that room.
Okay, Michael.
Hi, Michael Atkinson, Houston Public Media. Congratulations again. My question is also for Rick. I think that we've asked the crew several times if they felt the weight of this moment, and I'm curious if you felt, or if your other flight directors felt the weight of this, that as you were going through all this, you're like, this is what Gene Kranz felt, this is what Chris Kraft felt. Did you ever feel that moment?
There were a couple of times where you have a lull in the shift, and you can kind of sit back in your seat and just look out the window. I do that at ISS a lot when I work down the hall working in Ficker 1. You just enjoy the view. As I worked early in the mission on the planning shift, the moon was getting bigger and bigger, and it was fun to just sit and watch the moon get bigger. And then as we worked on the entry -1 day shift yesterday, and then on the entry shift, it was fun to watch the Earth get bigger. And it was fascinating to watch orbital mechanics take over. And in the last day when I took the console, I think we were, earlier this morning, I think we were over 50,000 miles away from Earth. And we made up that last 50,000 miles in the last 8 hours. And it's a fun job to do.
All right, we'll take several questions from the phone. We have Anthony Leone with Spectrum News.
Hello, it's Anthony Leone with Spectrum News. Thank you so much for taking our questions. This is certainly a historic moment. NASA has kicked off the return of humans visiting the moon. How does it feel to write this new chapter in our history book?
I have to tell you, my background is in planetary science, and I was an active planetary scientist for a couple of decades, and I had this incredible honor to come over and work with the human spaceflight side of NASA and the team that have put this together. But as someone who has been interested in what we can do in exploring the moon and going beyond low Earth orbit, I think the weight of this mission and just how incredibly impactful it is that we have actually achieved this. During our lifetimes here, we have done this, right? Apollo was when I was a child, and to be here now and say we actually did this, we've gone back and we're going to go build a moon base. We are going to have an enduring presence on the moon. Just incredibly powerful.
The next question is from Manuel Masanti with Exploración Espacial.
Thank you so much. Congratulations to everyone. Manuel Masanti with Exploración Espacial. NASA showed one more time that space is a unifying force around the world with a crew that connected so well with people that doesn't matter which country. How important was, for anyone in the panel, how important was this mission for the agency and for the future of the Artemis program?
It's the most important human spaceflight mission I think we've done in many decades in terms of what it meant historically, but also what it means for the future of the agency. We talked before about, for many folks, this is the end of a long journey working on these machines, and for a lot of our workforce, it's just the beginning. But it is definitely an inflection point for all of us. So it's hard to understate, just how incredibly valuable it is to the entire team.
Let's go here to Zach.
Yes, thank you. Congratulations. Zachary Albert with the Launchpad from Canada. Ahmed, if you could send a message to NASA in 50 years. We've taken a lot looking back at the last 50. What would you say to the administration and the NASA then when hopefully we've become a multiplanetary species? And for each of you, is there a word or a quick phrase on how you hope the history books classify this mission that started us going back?
It's a couple weeks ago, I was with the administrator. We were doing a different event, and we were talking about how we were really going to make choices and change our focus towards the moon, towards building a moon base, towards doing incredible things again. And right before he and I walked up on stage, he turned to me and he said, at some point, people are going to look back at what we were doing, and we're going to be like those guys that were hogging out logs to cross lakes just to see if we could do it. And then, in the future, people are going to look back at us and go, wasn't that quaint, and isn't that interesting how they did that? But I mean, that's kind of where I think this is going to land in the grand scheme of things. We of course, Apollo achieved amazing things. We've done amazing things since then, but this, I think, is going to be an important step, and hopefully history is kind to us as a result.
Okay, Stephen, did you have one? TJ?
TJ Mosquero with the Epoch Times. Thank you all so much, and congratulations again. My question is about the two backups. They've trained for this mission themselves all the way. I'm not trying to ask if they're going to be trying to get you to tell me if there are Artemis 3 or not, but can you tell me a little bit more about their fate? Because during Apollo, it seemed that the backup crew of one mission was slated to be the prime crew of a later mission.
So both Jenny and Andre were part of this crew in every way. They trained with them. They were in the White Room when they were closing it out. They were with them. The families were together. Jenny was with us in the viewing room today. So they're part of this crew, and I'll leave it at that.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Allison McGraw from Mysterious Meteorites. Given the crew's successful demonstration of the 4K video stream with the laser comms, Will there be another test of this? And what does this mean for TRL readiness level for, say, a planetary spacecraft mission? Thank you.
I think we've had an incredible demonstration of the optical communications and the 4K video streaming. That was just fantastic. I think we've really shown that this is an amazing capability that we'd certainly like to implement in the future. So we'll have to see how that works and see how we can make that happen.
Just to point out, though, we have actually closed an optical link for much further
Yes, we
away
have,
on
from
the Psyche
Mars.
vehicle. So,
Yep.
So we're working on that.
Mars distance. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll come around here. Just need to wait for the mic to make its way over.
Hi, thank you again for doing this, and again, congrats on just such an amazing mission. Beverly Casillas for Space Scout here, and I just had a quick question. We've seen some really incredible imagery throughout the course of this mission. It's been great, to get that downlinked quickly with the laser comms. And I'm curious how much of that imagery that was taken during the mission on board has been downlinked, and how much of that still remains on the spacecraft to be recovered later. Thank you.
I don't happen to know the official stats, but we can certainly follow up with you at a later date.
I do know that Reed had made the comment that even though they sent back quite a bit, that the stuff they have with them is pretty amazing. So once we get it off the physical media on the vehicle, hopefully we'll be able to get it to you guys soon.
Yeah, we'll get all those SD cards. We'll get them all downloaded. And of course, all of the imaging that was required on Monday, that was the science imaging, all of that will be made available through the planetary data system and archived.
Okay, we'll take a few more from the phone. Next is Alejandro Turnbull with Space Scout.
Hi, congratulations everyone on a fantastic mission. Question for Rick. As the spacecraft was descending under parachute, we saw on the infrared camera some plumes emanating from the vehicle that looked like either venting or thruster firing. Just wondering if you could speak a little to what the spacecraft was doing then, what exactly caused those plumes. Thank you.
Yeah, not knowing the video that you're referring to, I would imagine that's probably the spacecraft reorienting itself. When we're on our main parachutes, we do a reorientation to ensure that the most robust structural portion of the spacecraft contacts the water first. And so I suspect the plumes you were seeing were the crew module reaction control system thrusters firing.
The next question is from David Denault with About Space Today News.
First, I'd like to say just not congratulations, but I think this is just one of the most spectacular missions NASA has ever accomplished. And a lot of people have compared this to Apollo 8. And I can tell you there is no comparison to what has been done with the Orion spacecraft and the technology from our European Space Agency partners. I was there for the beginning of Apollo 8. I'm probably the oldest broadcast journalist today. But my question to each of you, what was your wow moment?
Let's start with Mr. Quinn. You're kind of lonely over there.
I didn't hear the question. Yep.
Just pick an awesome thing.
Awesome
Well, being a guy from the Kennedy Space Center, the launch was a pretty special day. To see all those umbilicals clear the vehicle and the vehicle clear the tower and have that rocket rise off the pad was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
All right. I know Victor always says touchdown, getting onto the water. For me, the greatest moment was the parachutes, the main chutes deploying. I think seeing that, I was chanting "Go, go, go" by myself. Somebody shot a video of that. I think I was going crazy, but I just kept saying that as the drogues came out, but when the mains came out and they started slowly inflating, I mean, that was just a tremendous moment. Like I said, objective number one is get the crew home. And I know there's all kinds of things that can happen after that, but having those mains and getting the vehicle to 16 miles per hour from 24,600 miles per hour is pretty amazing. And getting those chutes down was a great moment.
I'm going to vote for the naming of the two craters as my top moment.
I know it's all still fresh. So for me, I'm probably going to say two things. When the crew, when Reed reported back, 4 crew green after splashdown, that's what we hope for, right? So that was pretty awesome. And then when we saw Christina come out of the capsule, then I was like, okay, we're here.
Okay, we'll take, oh, sorry, I'm at.
No, it's okay. Mine's easy. It'll be tomorrow when I see my friends again.
All right, one more from the phone and then back into the room. So the phone question will come from Russell Pounds from Pacific Rim Media.
Hi, this is Russell calling from Alaska today. Congratulations to all. And I'll tell you, there were tears of joy in the room here where we were watching. My question is about logistics. I'm thinking about all of the moving parts it takes to bring food, power, telecom, and so forth on a complicated mission. What were some of the logistics lessons learned that might be useful to organizations back here on Earth?
Interesting.
Yeah, I think a good start. I mean, it's incredibly challenging to get to, to plan for a mission like this. Even though Orion's a pretty big spacecraft, making sure we have everything we need. We think we count through contingencies. We lose systems sometimes. We worry about that. We want to make sure we have everything ready to go. I will tell you, though, that, just having thought about this for a while, the logistics of flying a 10-day mission, even this far away, pales in comparison to the logistics of keeping crew on space station constantly going. So I would say that a lot of our logistics learnings have been derived from that. That's not just, consumables and water and gas, et cetera, but it's also thinking about the reliability of the systems and when they're going to fail. It's hard to predict sometimes, how to do that, sparing the machine and making sure we have everything pre-positioned in the event that we have failures. That comes from a lot of learning, both pre-flight and in-flight. And so, but in-space logistics is going to be a huge challenge for us going forward as we really contemplate a moon base, but hopefully we'll be able to feed forward, lessons from obviously this mission, but I think from Space Station Together as we build that moon base.
Okay, we'll take a few more here in the room. We'll go in the middle there.
Hi, Jishnu Nair, Houston Business Journal, echoing congratulations on a great mission. While we were following along, we had a lot of voices from the space industry, especially here in Houston, kind of chime in and express their support and as well. And I know that a lot of those companies are working on specific NASA proposals or submissions, but in general, how would you say you'd like to see the industry kind of respond to the kind of achievement that NASA has done here and hopes to continue with Artemis?
I'll take the first stab on that one. How I'd like to see industry respond is to take this as not just the inspiration, but the challenge. You've heard that we really want to speed up our cadence and be able to return our crew back to space within a year and to the surface of the moon in 2 years. In fact, hopefully land on the moon twice in 2028. In order to do that, we're not going to be able to do that alone. We need all of industry to work and come along with us, and they need to accept that challenge and come with us and really start the production lines that are going to be required in order to achieve that goal.
Okay, let's hear in the white hat.
Hi, JJ Love with Tech Talk Media. I just have some words of recognition for you all and the entire Artemis team. What you have done this week is remind the people of Earth that wonder is worth chasing, that curiosity is not a luxury, it is the most human thing we have. You didn't just test a spacecraft, you tested mankind's potential and carried all of us with you in the process. Every kid who looked up at the moon this week did it differently because of you. People who needed something to believe in found it in that splashdown tonight. So thank you, not just for the data, and not just for the mission, but for proving that the pursuit of what's possible is still alive and well. We are so grateful.
Thank you for that.
It's very well said. Thank you for that. I would tell you that, for everybody listening, this is the taxpayers' program. The people paid for this. The people invested in this. They invested in all of the things that we do, and so we're grateful for the support.
Okay, we'll take a couple more questions, and then we'll go ahead and wrap. We have one here, and then further back.
Hello, congrats. Emily Martin from Sierra Espace France. Reed Wiseman addressed a shout out to the ESM right after it separated from Orion, saying that it powered their journey on the moon with perfection. I was wondering what comments you might have on the performances of the ESM and on the future of that collaboration with Europe.
Yeah, I would say that the European Service Module in general performed as expected. I know we learned a little bit about the pressurization system, and we'll work on that. But overall, really great part of our spacecraft. Really appreciate our European partnership. We do have continued partnership with them for Artemis 3, 4. We're building ESM 5 as well, and we'll continue to do that as we move forward.
All right, we'll take one final question.
Hi there, Chelsea Torres with Fox. Again, congratulations on a historic mission. Again, test flight, and one thing that we are as humans are explorers. And so I'm curious if you're able to kind of talk about this. During the lunar flyby, we saw the excitement not just from the crew, but also from everyone in mission control. Was there anything that kind of stood out to you, whether it was the Terminator, the certain pictures and data, anything at all that you can speak to that maybe you didn't know before about the lunar surface, our planet, space itself that you'd like to speak about? Thank you.
I'm just going to call out the one thing that I thought was truly unique about this mission. I mean, certainly there's a ton of new things that we've done with having our crew observe far side of the moon and being able to observe these features after their incredible training. But I'll tell you, the one thing that really stands out to me is being able to watch our crew observe an eclipse by having the moon passing between their spacecraft and the sun. That was a totally unique experience and something that I was so proud that we could all participate and travel along with them and experience that moment.
All right, that's all the time we have today. Thank you very much to our participants today and to all of you for following along. You can find the latest information about our missions on nasa.gov and hopefully soon information about the expected arrival time of the crew back in Houston tomorrow. Thank you. Los astronautas de Artemis 2 están de regreso en la Tierra, aterrizando en el Océano Pacífico a las 7:07 de la tarde, hora central, esta noche después de la misión récord de la NASA que los llevó alrededor de la Luna y los trajo de vuelta a casa. Buenas noches y bienvenidos al Centro Espacial Johnson de la NASA en Houston. Soy Rachel Kraft de Comunicaciones de la NASA. Varios líderes hablarán sobre la exitosa misión. Son Amit Kshatriya, administrador asociado, la doctora Lori Glaze, jefa de los programas Artemis, Rick Hempfling, director de vuelo de entrada, Howard Hu, gerente del programa Orion, y Sean Quinn, gerente del programa de sistemas de exploración terrestre. Escucharemos brevemente de ellos y luego tomaremos preguntas aquí en la sala y por teléfono, y con eso comenzaremos con Amit.
Buenas noches. Ayer, cuando estábamos en esta sala, les dijimos que la tripulación pondría sus vidas detrás de nuestra confianza y lo hicieron. Ayer, en esta sala, les dijimos que hoy pertenece a los ingenieros y técnicos que tocaron esta máquina, y así es, y su trabajo fue bueno. Los soldadores de Michoud dieron forma al escudo térmico y unieron el cohete. Los técnicos en Kennedy empacaron paracaídas, apilaron el vehículo, apilaron Orion, apilaron S. Ingenieros de SLS en Bremen, Turín y en toda la alianza construyeron un módulo de servicio. Trabajadores en Utah moldearon los propulsores. Equipos en Stennis encendieron los motores. Controladores de vuelo en este edificio en Houston estuvieron en la consola durante 10 días seguidos y permanecieron en silencio durante 6 minutos en la noche mientras el plasma tomaba la señal. Los buzos de la Marina sacaron a la tripulación del Pacífico de una manera increíble. El vehículo habló por todos ellos y a 25,000 pies por segundo dijo que el trabajo fue bueno. Como decimos en nuestro negocio, la física es la última en votar. Las familias de la tripulación dijeron esta semana que había habido felicidad y alegría, pero también ansiedad, queriendo llevar a su tripulación, a sus seres queridos, a casa de manera segura. Estuve con ellos esta noche. 4 familias pasaron esos 6 minutos y su valentía es la misma que la de la tripulación que acaba de regresar a casa. Ayer el director de vuelo, Jeff Rattigan, dijo que teníamos menos de 1 grado de ángulo para alcanzar después de 1/4 de millón de millas a la Luna. Y su equipo lo logró. Eso no es suerte, eso es 10. Eso es 1000 personas haciendo su trabajo. Todos escucharon las palabras de la tripulación durante la misión. Fueron increíblemente inspiradoras. Llevaron la antorcha desde Apolo a través de la estación y alrededor del lado lejano de la Luna. Sus palabras les pertenecen a ellos. Los escucharemos tan pronto como estén de vuelta aquí. Pero esta noche pertenece al equipo que construyó la máquina en la que viajaron. Hablamos mucho sobre lo que se interpone en nuestro camino. El impedimento para la acción, es donde encontramos la manera de llegar a la acción. Lo que se interpone en el camino se convierte en el camino. Este programa enfrentó todos los obstáculos que una institución podría enfrentar. El equipo enfrentó cada uno con trabajo y esta noche es la prueba. Pero ese trabajo necesita continuar. El camino hacia la superficie lunar está abierto, pero el trabajo por delante es mayor que el trabajo que dejamos atrás. Siempre lo será. Hace 53 años, la humanidad dejó la Luna. Esta vez regresamos para quedarnos. Terminemos lo que ellos empezaron. Enfoquémonos en lo que quedó sin hacer. No vayamos a plantar banderas y marcharnos, sino a quedarnos. Con firmeza en nuestro propósito, con gratitud por las manos que construyeron las máquinas y con amor por aquellos que llevamos con nosotros. Bienvenida a casa, integridad. Le pasaré la palabra al Dr. Glaze.
Gracias, muchas gracias, Amit. Así que lo hicimos. Enviamos a 4 personas increíbles a la Luna y las devolvimos a la Tierra de manera segura por primera vez en más de 50 años. A la generación que ahora sabe de lo que somos capaces, bienvenidos a nuestro gran desafío. Quiero agradecer a todo nuestro equipo en esta nación y alrededor del mundo que dio cada onza de ingenio y esfuerzo para hacer. Estoy tan orgulloso de cada uno de ustedes, de lo que han logrado en los últimos 10 días. NASA, Arsenstrecker, bowlers que perseguir objetivos ambiciosos y que pueden inspirar al mundo. Estamos muy emocionados de tener a Reid, Victor, Christina y Jeremy de regreso aquí en la Tierra y a salvo a bordo del USS John P. Martha. Nuestro equipo está entusiasmado y esta misión, como hemos estado hablando, es solo el comienzo. A todos nuestros nuevos seguidores, por favor, manténganse atentos. Esta es la primera misión, nuestra primera misión a la Luna, de muchas más por venir, y no podemos esperar. Nuestros equipos están muy listos para trabajar en las próximas misiones y explorar la superficie lunar y llevar al mundo con nosotros. Le paso la palabra a Rick.
Gracias, Lori. Gracias a todos por su continuo interés en esta misión. Qué día tan verdaderamente espectacular fue para la NASA y todos nuestros socios internacionales. Esta tripulación ha dicho una y otra vez que iban por toda la humanidad y hoy cumplimos ese objetivo al completar su viaje y devolverlos sanos y salvos a la Tierra. Tengo algunas estadísticas para aquellos que estén interesados, cortesía del oficial de dinámica de vuelo en el control de misión. Integrity y su tripulación de 4 astronautas volaron 700.237 millas. Alcanzamos una velocidad máxima de 24.664 millas por hora. Llegamos a nuestro ángulo de trayectoria de vuelo. Acierta el objetivo dentro del 0.4%. Volamos un rango de entrada de 1.957 millas y aterrizamos a menos de 1 milla de nuestro objetivo. Qué día tan tremendo. Adelante, Howard.
Gracias, Rick, y gracias al equipo de control de vuelo. Qué trabajo excepcional. Wow, qué día fantástico. Quiero decir, hemos soñado como equipo con llegar a este día y apreciamos los comentarios de Amit. Quiero decir, tantas personas han trabajado muy duro, incansablemente, para llegar a este día. Creo que esta misión ha sido histórica y ha demostrado nuevas capacidades para la nave espacial Orión. Ha llevado a nuestra tripulación más lejos de lo que cualquier otra ha ido a la Luna y ha regresado de manera segura. 252.756 millas y eso es un logro fantástico. Tenemos mucho más por hacer y estoy tan feliz de que podamos tener este momento, pero nosotros vamos a tener muchos de estos momentos próximamente. Y quiero agradecer a todo el equipo de Orion. Han trabajado incansablemente, han dedicado muchas horas, se han comprometido con la excelencia, han innovado y enfrentado desafíos que hemos planteado tanto para nuestro equipo de la NASA, nuestros socios de la industria, como para nuestro equipo europeo también. Lo hicimos juntos, trajimos a la tripulación a casa de manera segura. Merecen un aplauso. Fue un día estupendo para ellos también. Quiero agradecer a la tripulación. Han sido una inspiración fantástica para nuestros equipos también. Han escuchado sus mensajes. Estamos tan felices de que estén de vuelta en tierra. No podemos esperar para verlos también. Y finalmente, ya sabes, hemos aprendido mucho de esta misión. Lo número 1 fue traer a las tripulaciones a casa de manera segura, pero también es un vuelo de prueba. Y como dijo Amit, tenemos trabajo por delante que hacer. Vamos a aprender de esta misión, vamos a analizar los datos y vamos a avanzar. Este es el comienzo de una nueva era de exploración espacial humana. Gracias.
Gracias.
Bueno, gracias, Howard. Qué final tan increíble para una misión increíble. Tengo que decirte, creo que estoy tratando de elegir lo mejor que pasó hoy y solo diré que estábamos sentados en la sala trasera preparándonos para esta conferencia de prensa y Howard recibe una llamada de Reed Wiseman, el comandante de Integrity, y fue tan genial escuchar su voz y decirnos que toda la tripulación está bien y podemos decir que hicimos nuestra misión, logramos lo que nos propusimos hacer.
Estoy muy orgulloso de los esfuerzos del equipo de sistemas de exploración terrestre que apoyó tanto el lanzamiento y las operaciones de recuperación junto a nuestros socios de la Marina. Todo el arduo trabajo y dedicación de los últimos años dio sus frutos hoy y el equipo hizo un gran trabajo. Nuestros equipos de recuperación están actualmente en el proceso de traer a Orión de vuelta a la cubierta del barco y con suerte dentro de aproximadamente 4 o 5 horas será difícil en la parte trasera del USS Marta. Es bueno ser de la NASA, es bueno ser estadounidense hoy. Gracias.
Muy bien, es hora de preguntas. Comenzaremos aquí en la sala y tomaremos varias del teléfono. Para aquellos en el teléfono pueden presionar *1 para entrar en la cola de preguntas. Y por favor limiten a una pregunta si pueden. Comenzaremos aquí con Joey.
Muchas gracias, Joey Rule con Reuters, y felicidades por una misión realmente buena. Tengo curiosidad por saber más sobre cómo están los astronautas, dónde van a dormir esta noche, y también cuándo esperan anunciar la tripulación para Artemis 3. Gracias.
Entonces, la respuesta a tu segunda pregunta, Joey, es pronto. No pondré unidades en ese valor, pero pronto. Rick, ¿quieres hablar sobre la tripulación, lo que están haciendo?
Sí, vimos a la tripulación varias veces después de que salieron de la nave espacial. Lo vimos en el porche delantero, todos estaban felices y saludables. Vi a Víctor mientras estaba sentado en el borde del helicóptero en la cubierta de vuelo del barco y estaba sonriendo y de buen ánimo. Y todo lo que hemos escuchado de los cirujanos es que la tripulación de vuelo está feliz y saludable y lista para volver a casa en Houston.
Hola, Lauren Grush con Bloomberg. Felicitaciones de nuevo. Sabes, obviamente ha sido una misión increíble de ver de principio a fin, pero supongo que me pregunto si tuvieras que categorizar, sabes, este fue un vuelo de prueba, ¿cuál dirías que es el problema que sientes que tal vez más agradeces que surgiera durante esta misión para que pudieras aplicar esa lección aprendida a la siguiente?
Tal vez. Howard, ¿te gustaría que me encargara de eso? Sí, creo que, sabes, estamos tomando muchas lecciones aprendidas. Ciertamente, aprender sobre cómo la tripulación opera una nave espacial ha sido una gran experiencia de aprendizaje. Y volar y la capacidad para que ellos prueben nuestra nave espacial ha sido bueno. Creo que como mencionamos anteriormente, nuestro conjunto de control de presión, donde descubrimos una fuga a través del sistema. Creo que aprendimos mucho sobre eso. Ese es un hallazgo nuevo. Ciertamente vamos a investigar eso, vamos a mirar eso y avanzar para asegurarnos de que hagamos algunos cambios si es necesario. Pero obtendremos todos los datos y avanzaremos desde allí.
Marcia.
Associated Press, Marcia Dunn. El administrador describió a la tripulación como grandes comunicadores, casi poetas. ¿Cómo es? ¿Sabes? Esto va a ser difícil de igualar para las próximas tripulaciones que pronto serán seleccionadas. Habla sobre esta tripulación en particular y lo que aportaron a esto. Que fue más allá de lo científico y la investigación y la ingeniería, por favor.
Solo diré que este equipo en particular, ya sabes, se han llegado a conocer tan bien cada uno de ellos individualmente. Son simplemente individuos absolutamente increíbles, pero ellos como grupo podías verlos y lo que aportaron al verlos en Orión durante los últimos 10 días, operando sin problemas entre los 4, es simplemente el trabajo en equipo, la camaradería. Creo que realmente aportaron un sentido asombroso de lo que estamos tratando de lograr con esta misión. Es la misión para toda la humanidad, una misión para todos y realmente representaron eso e intentaron comunicarlo. Sé que todo nuestro cuerpo de astronautas es espectacular y no tengo duda de que los próximos equipos también alcanzarán ese nivel.
Jackie.
Hola a todos, Jackie Waddles, CNN. Felicitaciones, pregunta para Rick. Estoy realmente ansiosa por saber cómo fue ese apagón durante la reentrada para ti. Y también solo quería preguntar, sabes que el objetivo de amerizaje estando a menos de 1 milla de distancia es increíble. ¿Puedes explicarnos si hubo algo, ya sabes, fuera de lo común? Sé que escuchamos en las comunicaciones que hubo algunos problemas con los sensores justo antes de la interfaz de entrada. Solo tengo curiosidad por saber más sobre eso. Gracias.
Claro, entonces, ya sabes, apagón, no hay realmente forma de evitarlo, sabes, es un momento difícil porque el equipo de control de vuelo quiere ver datos. Queremos ver los datos, queremos poder proporcionar información a la tripulación sobre cómo volar su nave espacial. Y cuando no tenemos datos, estamos tratando de averiguar qué hacer, pero sabíamos cuándo iba a comenzar el apagón. Comenzó cuando esperábamos, sabíamos cuándo iba a terminar, terminó cuando esperábamos. Y eso nos dio la confianza de que la nave espacial estaba volando correctamente por sí misma. En cuanto a algunas de las precauciones y cosas que surgieron en el descenso, las precauciones del propulsor, pensamos que nuevamente eso fue aprendizaje de la nave espacial. Algunos de los límites están establecidos un poco más estrictos de lo que probablemente deberíamos haberlos establecido y lo resolvimos y seguimos adelante. En cuanto a las comunicaciones después del aterrizaje, no sabemos exactamente qué estaba pasando allí, pero lo solucionamos. Tuvimos comunicaciones con el equipo de recuperación y entregamos la autoridad de la misión de manera segura en el momento adecuado.
Está bien, Josh.
Hola, Josh Diener, Space.com. Estoy realmente emocionado de escuchar que la tripulación está bien. Estoy interesado, ya sabes, vimos a Víctor sentado en el borde de ese helicóptero una vez que aterrizaron en el barco y fue genial verlos a todos, ya sabes, caminar por la cubierta. Estaban preparados para hacer una prueba de salida de emergencia con una escalera, una mochila. Ya sabes, me pregunto si ya la han realizado, cuán pronto la realizarán y si lo han hecho, ¿cómo les fue?
No estoy familiarizado con una prueba de salida de emergencia después del aterrizaje. Dado que esta fue una misión de prueba, el objetivo número 1 era sacar a la tripulación de vuelo de la nave espacial lo más rápido posible. Y no estábamos considerando ningún objetivo después del aterrizaje.
Sí, lo hicimos. Creo que cuando estábamos de vuelta en la plataforma de lanzamiento, hicimos, durante el CDT, hicimos una salida de emergencia, pero sí. Ese es el único del que estoy al tanto.
Sí, pero lo revisaremos por ti.
Eric Greger, Ars Technica. Felicitaciones por hacer que algo que sé que es realmente difícil parezca fácil. Fue una misión hermosa. Dijiste que el trabajo por delante es mayor que el trabajo que dejamos atrás. Puede hablar sobre cómo a medida que la NASA enfrenta estos desafíos mucho mayores en Artemis 3, Artemis 4 y la construcción de la base lunar, cuán importante es para usted y la agencia volar humanos en el espacio profundo nuevamente y estar en un ritmo operativo. Esto debe ser bastante alentador para la fuerza laboral dejar atrás los 50 años de no haber regresado a la Luna.
Sí, es enorme. Quiero decir, la cadencia de vuelo y la iteración son la clave para la fiabilidad y la seguridad. ¿Sabes? Estuvimos esperando volar esta misión durante varios años. Mucho de eso fue debido a, ya sabes, los problemas que vimos durante Artemis 1 y asegurarnos de que lo hiciéramos de la manera correcta. Y tratamos de asegurarnos de que la máquina era perfecta antes de que la voláramos, pero la verdadera manera de hacerlo es seguir iterando, seguir volando, seguir aprendiendo, seguir obteniendo datos en el entorno de vuelo. Así que esa parte de cómo estamos cambiando la arquitectura y exigiendo ese ritmo más alto va a ser, yo diría, obligatorio para que tengamos éxito. Necesitamos que esa memoria muscular exista, necesitamos que los datos sigan llegando y necesitamos poder iterar rápidamente y cambiar la máquina a medida que aprendemos de ella. Todo lo que aprendamos de Artemis 2 lo vamos a obtener justo después, pero diría que es esencial.
Está bien. Irene.
Irene Klotzkon, Aviation Week and Space Technology para AMET. ¿Cuál crees que será tu mayor desafío para asegurar que este manto y responsabilidad de heredar lo que hizo Apolo no termine como Apolo?
Creo que uno de los temas, hemos hablado de esto un poco antes. Sabes, lo que los arquitectos de Apolo, ellos, Gilruth, von Braun, Siemens, Mueller, ellos lo que realmente querían hacer cuando se les dio el desafío de expandir el rango de acción a la Luna era aprender a vivir y trabajar en el espacio por mucho tiempo. Querían hacer eso primero. Hablé un poco sobre esto con Rob antes. Creo que, ya sabes, y por supuesto, debido a la naturaleza del entorno en el que estaban, ¿sabes? Estaban en una carrera. Lograron sus objetivos que eran geopolíticos así como tecnológicos, pero una vez que se hizo. Y creo que no hubo la base sobre la que querían construir, es a lo que fuimos después. Así que queríamos, ya sabes, investigar la reutilización con el transbordador y lo hicimos. Queríamos aprender a vivir en el espacio por mucho tiempo con la estación. Hemos llegado a ese punto ahora, 25 años de ocupación. Ahora es interesante, creo que donde estamos con el programa es más o menos donde querían que estuviéramos antes de decidir hacer eso, para realmente permitir una presencia sostenible para aprender a vivir y trabajar allí por mucho tiempo. Entonces, ya sabes, es una extraña ironía de la historia que, ya sabes, nos tomó tanto tiempo hacer eso, pero no estuvimos inactivos mientras eso sucedía. Desarrollamos la capacidad de tener una presencia duradera. Presencia, ya sabes, en el espacio, y ahora vamos a aprovechar eso, ahora que hemos regresado a la Luna.
Está bien, tomaremos una más en la sala de Ken Chang y luego tomaremos varias por teléfono.
Hola, Ken Chang del New York Times. Cois, supongo que para Rick y todos los demás. Solo quería, ¿pueden hablar sobre cómo fueron los últimos 13 minutos? Debió haber habido algo de ansiedad. ¿Y cuál fue el momento en que finalmente pudieron relajarse? ¿Y cuándo comenzaron a celebrar en el control de misión?
Ciertamente hay ansiedad. Si no tenías ansiedad al traer esta nave espacial a casa, probablemente no tenías pulso. Sabes, estábamos... tengo mucha confianza en mi equipo. Tenemos nosotros, todos los controladores de vuelo en la sala, el día de la entrada pasaron por un riguroso proceso de entrenamiento y son los expertos del sistema en su respectiva parte de la nave espacial. Así que aunque hay ansiedad, hay mucha confianza porque el equipo está allí para hacer un trabajo y hemos entrenado bien y ejecutamos bien. Todos respiramos aliviados una vez que la escotilla lateral se abrió. Fue cuando trajimos al equipo, dijimos unas palabras a los controladores de vuelo y luego nos giramos hacia las familias y les saludamos y les dimos un pulgar arriba y todos observamos como equipo de control de vuelo mientras cada uno de los 4 astronautas salía de la nave espacial y eran izados a los helicópteros. Fue un gran día.
Bien, ahora tomaremos varias preguntas por teléfono. La primera es de Micah Maidenberg de The Wall Street Journal.
Hola, buenas noches. Una pregunta para Lori o Howard. Sé que es muy temprano aquí, pero ¿alguna idea inicial sobre el rendimiento del escudo térmico en relación con Artemis 1 y podrían explicar cómo se evaluará el escudo térmico en las próximas semanas y meses? Muchas gracias.
Entonces yo solo comenzaré y luego se lo pasaré a Howard. ¿Qué te parece? Entonces, ya sabes, inicialmente reunimos muchos datos. Ciertamente viste que había aviones que estaban posicionados para hacer algo, algunas imágenes y recopilar datos. Así que tenemos algunos de esos datos que se pueden analizar en los próximos días y semanas. También tuvimos buzos debajo de la superficie que tomaron imágenes del escudo térmico antes de que fuera llevado al MURTA para que pudiéramos entender exactamente en qué estado se encuentra después de que aterrizó. Y entonces creo que ya hemos comenzado la parte de recopilación de datos. Estoy seguro de que habrá más evaluaciones una vez que estemos en el barco. Y luego, Howard, ¿por qué no hablas un poco sobre cuáles son los próximos pasos?
Sí, ya tenemos a 2 de nuestros expertos en escudos térmicos a bordo del barco. Y así, cuando tengamos el módulo de la tripulación en la cubierta de carga, haremos algunas inspecciones de inmediato. Como dijo Lori, tenemos buzos submarinos que están tomando fotos y luego, después de haberlo inspeccionado en el barco, lo transferiremos de regreso al Centro Espacial Kennedy. Tendremos la oportunidad de mirar en detalle y hacer escaneos del escudo térmico y tendremos muchos buenos datos de eso. También capturamos muchas imágenes excelentes. Obviamente no hemos tenido tiempo de digerir todos esos datos, pero nosotros en los próximos días nos aseguraremos de entender si hubo algo que ocurrió que fue anómalo. Pero estamos muy emocionados. El equipo está muy emocionado de obtener esos datos, tanto de las imágenes como de verlo en persona.
A continuación, Jackie Mogensen de Scientific American.
Hola, gracias por esto. Quería dar seguimiento a una de las preguntas anteriores sobre los astronautas. Tenía curiosidad por saber si sería posible contarnos un poco más y si sabemos sobre lo que harán los astronautas en sus primeros días de regreso a la Tierra. Ya sabes, ¿cuál podría ser su primera comida o actividades con su familia? Muchas gracias.
Bueno, la máxima prioridad va a ser llevarlos rápidamente de regreso con sus familias aquí en Houston. En cuanto a los detalles, estoy seguro de que cada uno de los miembros de la tripulación tiene algo especial planeado con sus familias y esa será la prioridad, que ellos tomen un tiempo y lo pasen con sus seres queridos.
Entonces, 24 horas después del amenizaje, eso sería entre las 7 de la mañana y las 7 de la tarde mañana.
Es tot nos, se leichnea telefonia Jeff Faust de Space News.
Buenas noches. Me pregunto si puede explicar cómo será el procesamiento de la nave espacial Orión ahora que ha regresado. ¿En qué momento extraen todas las lecciones aprendidas de la misión y comienzan a aplicarlas a Artemis 3 para tener esa misión lista para lanzarse en aproximadamente un año? Gracias.
Sí, ¿sabes? tendremos lo que llamamos un informe inicial rápido de 30 días que prepararemos. Cada equipo estará haciendo su debida diligencia y analizando todos los datos que tenemos. El módulo de la tripulación será transportado de regreso al Centro Espacial Kennedy. El equipo de Sean, Exploration Ground Systems, va a descontaminar el vehículo en términos del sistema de propulsión que tiene hidracina, así que estaremos trabajando en eso. Mientras tanto, estaremos retirando hardware del barco en paralelo con otras actividades, y cuando regresemos al Centro Espacial Kennedy, tenemos alrededor de 286 componentes que vamos a reutilizar en futuras misiones ya. Y luego vamos a mirar otros componentes y determinar si podemos reutilizarlos también. Mucho trabajo, no solo en el flujo de hardware, sino también en todo el análisis de los datos que vamos a necesitar en el futuro para aprender de esta misión y avanzar con Artemis 3 y más allá.
Está bien, tomaremos una más del teléfono y luego volveremos aquí a la sala. La siguiente pregunta es de Richard Tribo, del Orlando Sentinel.
Hola, gracias de nuevo por tomarse el tiempo. Esta es otra pregunta para Howard. Para Artemis 3, es el sistema de acoplamiento que tienen que hacer con Blue Origin o SpaceX, eso. ¿En qué punto estaría ese sistema más o menos instalado en el nuevo cápsula? Y supongo que para Amit, ¿cómo están progresando tus dos contratistas hacia tener algo que realmente pueda subir allí en tu cronograma? Gracias.
Está bien, comenzaré con nuestro sistema de acoplamiento. Nuestro sistema de acoplamiento está listo para funcionar.
Ya ha sido calificado, ya tenemos la unidad de vuelo en el Centro Espacial Kennedy. Más tarde este verano lo integraremos en la parte superior del módulo de tripulación. Y ya hemos hecho muchas pruebas, así que la parte final es realmente el acoplamiento mecánico de la escotilla de acoplamiento y el mecanismo de acoplamiento en sí. Y tenemos una forma estándar de realizar acoplamientos en el espacio que esperamos que Blue Origin y SpaceX trabajen con nosotros para lograr esa misión.
Sí, y en cuanto a la otra parte, creo que, estamos en una campaña de pruebas masiva. Tenemos una gran prueba próximamente del módulo de aterrizaje Blue Origin Mark I, que será el tipo de versión más pequeña del módulo de aterrizaje que quieren usar para lograr intentar las misiones de aterrizaje. Eso es, va a haber un vuelo de prueba de eso este año. También tenemos la prueba del Starship Bloque 3 y Super Heavy, que se espera en unas pocas semanas aquí. Así que, ya sabes, cada día en este programa vamos a estar probando grandes máquinas y simplemente vamos a seguir estando al lado de ellas para ayudarlas a avanzar.
Está bien, Jackie, y luego volveremos al otro lado de la sala.
Gracias, Jackie Goddard para The Times de Londres. Mi pregunta es para Howard. Cuando eras niño te inspiró Star Wars. Me pregunto si hoy es mejor para ti que Star Wars y para los futuros viajeros espaciales que miren hacia atrás a hoy. ¿Qué deberían ver como significativo? Gracias.
Wow, tal vez estés viendo mis entrevistas antiguas o algo así, pero diría 1000, no sé cuál es el número, miles de veces mejor. Sabes, yo diría que compartí un momento con mi padre, me llevó a ver Star Wars, él no está vivo hoy, desearía que lo estuviera, porque ese niño pequeño que vio y se inspiró en las estrellas, y ahora podemos enviar a nuestra tripulación a las estrellas, más lejos de lo que cualquier humano ha estado. Quiero decir, no puedo ni expresar cómo me siento y la piel de gallina que tengo. Y yo diría que para todos los niños allá afuera, quiero decir, solo persigan los sueños. No puedo decirlo mejor que las tripulaciones. Sabes, también les digo a mis hijos, persigan lo que les apasiona, y mi pasión es el programa espacial. Mi pasión es la NASA y pude lograr eso hoy y espero que muchos más días en el futuro. Pero tienes la oportunidad de hacer lo que te apasiona y ojalá esos niños que están enamorados del vuelo espacial humano, enamorados de ir a las estrellas, se sientan inspirados por nosotros, especialmente por nuestras tripulaciones, y se unan a la NASA, vengan a trabajar con nosotros. Tenemos muchas misiones por delante.
Está bien, adelante.
Gracias. Ariel Montazos de Televisa Univisión. La única misión hasta hoy para la cual el apagón de comunicaciones duró 6 minutos fue Apolo 13, si no me equivoco. La de hoy duró 6 minutos, alrededor de 6 minutos. ¿Eso dice algo sobre el diseño de la nave o cuál es la razón detrás de eso? Y también, muy rápidamente, podemos ver a un hispano en una de las próximas misiones de Artemis? Muchas gracias.
En cuanto a la duración del apagón, mucho de eso está dictado por la física de la trayectoria de aproximación. ¿Sabes? La nave espacial Orión, cuando te envuelves en, ¿sabes?, plasma de miles de grados, la frecuencia de radio de las antenas simplemente no puede atravesar eso. ¿Sabes? En el transbordador espacial tuvimos suerte, teníamos la cola y teníamos una antena en la cola y nos tomó un tiempo averiguar. Para descubrir que esa era una forma de mantener la calma. Para Orion fueron 6 minutos, pero fue predicho y se desarrolló exactamente como lo predijimos. Así que eso solo nos dio confianza de que estaba volando como se suponía.
Lara.
Hola, gracias. Will Robinson Smith con Spaceflight Now y felicitaciones de nuevo esta noche. Una pregunta para Rick. Todo el equipo de operaciones de vuelo ha estado extremadamente ocupado durante el transcurso de esta misión, en preparación para esta misión. Imagino que habrá un poco de respiro ahora que la tripulación ha regresado a salvo a la Tierra, pero ¿cuándo volverán a reunirse para comenzar a prepararse para Artemis 3? ¿Y será el mismo grupo de directores de vuelo que vimos para Artemis 2? Gracias.
Bueno, tiene razón en que la próxima misión está a la vuelta de la esquina y, ¿sabes?, tomaremos las lecciones aprendidas de Artemis 2. Aprendimos mucho sobre cómo volar personas en el espacio, tanto desde una operación de vehículos, como también sobre cómo manejar una sala de control con una misión de espacio profundo. Y cuando ya sea el momento adecuado, volveremos al entrenamiento específico de vuelo. Y ya sabes, tenemos un grupo central de unos 30 directores de vuelo y todos son extremadamente capaces y bueno, creo que cualquiera que sea asignado a esa próxima misión va a ser tan exitoso como nosotros tres, yo, Judd y Jeff.
Sí, te llevaremos.
Tom Clark con Sky News. Felicitaciones por una misión muy exitosa. Amit, ayer hablaste de que solo hay miedos irracionales. Me pregunto si sucumbiste a alguno y, de ser así, ¿cuáles fueron? Pero después de un vuelo de pruebas tan exitosos, ¿cuánto aumentis esto la confianza de la NASA en su misión más amplia de permanecer en la Luna?
Quiero decir, para la campaña este es un gran paso, ¿sabes? Para que nosotros construyamos confianza, no solo en nuestro entendimiento de cómo funciona esta máquina, sino en que esta organización puede alcanzar el estándar de calificar un vehículo como este para vuelos tripulados. Creo que eso es enorme. Se necesitó mucha disciplina y muchos cambios entre Artemis 1 y ahora para llegar allí, y el equipo realmente estuvo a la altura de la ocasión. Estas personas aquí hicieron un trabajo tremendo al inculcar la cantidad de disciplina, rigor y confianza en los estándares de calificación para asegurarse de que esto va a funcionar. Y así, para mí, ese fue casi el mayor objetivo de esta misión, demostrar que podíamos pasar a vuelos tripulados, pero mantener el mismo nivel de conocimiento y comprensión del riesgo, pero también realmente enfocarnos en cómo se ve eso. Sabes, a tu punto, es cuando vuelas con la tripulación, cuando vuelas con cualquier tripulación, puedes quedar paralizado. Sabes, casi puedes quedar paralizado por el riesgo porque te vuelves tan cercano a ellos, entiendes lo que está en juego cuando con las familias entiendes lo que está en juego, pero la tripulación lo sabe y nosotros también tenemos que hacerlo, pero organizacionalmente entendemos que lo que hacemos es tomar riesgos calculados. Y eso va a tomar riesgos explorar, pero tú tienes que asegurarte de encontrar la línea correcta entre estar paralizado por ello y poder manejarlo y limitarlo de la manera correcta.
Está bien, Andrea. Y luego, después de eso, iremos con Michael y luego con Cyril por teléfono.
Andrea Leinfelder del Houston Chronicle. Esta pregunta es para Rick. Disfruté ver a los controladores de vuelo entrar en la sala de control de vuelo blanca y me preguntaba, ¿eran esos los controladores de la sala trasera? ¿Había personas que estaban fuera de servicio y simplemente no podían estar lejos? ¿Y por qué fue importante abrir la sala para ellos y permitir que más, como del personal de Houston, celebrara ese momento? Gracias.
Eso fue para cualquiera, hice un llamado a cualquiera que hubiera trabajado en la misión, sin importar en qué turno o en qué sala estuvieran, para que vinieran a la sala y simplemente disfrutaran el momento con el resto del equipo de operaciones. Todos se lo merecían, trabajaron tremendamente duro, tanto antes del vuelo como durante la misión, y era un momento para que nosotros celebráramos juntos antes de celebrar rating fuera de esa habitación.
Está bien, Michael.
Hola, Michael Atkinson, Houston Public Media. Felicitaciones de nuevo. Mi pregunta también es para Rick. Creo que hemos preguntado varias veces a la tripulación si sintieron el peso de este momento y tengo curiosidad si tú sentiste o si sabes si tus otros directores de vuelo sintieron el peso de esto, que mientras pasabas por todo esto pensabas, esto es lo que sintió Gene Kranz, esto es lo que sintió Chris Kraft. ¿Alguna vez sentiste ese momento?
Hubo un par de veces en las que simplemente como que tienes un momento de calma en el turno y puedes recostarte en tu asiento y simplemente mirar por la ventana, ya sabes. Yo hago eso mucho en la ISS cuando trabajo en el pasillo trabajando en Ficker 1. Simplemente disfrutas de la vista. Sabes, mientras trabajaba temprano en la misión, en el turno de planificación, la luna se hacía más y más grande y era divertido simplemente sentarse y ver cómo la luna crecía. Y luego, mientras trabajábamos en el turno de entrada, menos un día, ayer y luego en el turno de entrada, fue divertido ver cómo la Tierra se hacía más grande y fue fascinante ver cómo la mecánica orbital toma el control. Y en el último día, cuando tomé la consola, creo que estábamos más temprano esta mañana, creo que estábamos a más de 50.000 millas de la Tierra y cubrimos esas últimas 50.000 millas en las últimas 8 horas. Y sí, es un trabajo divertido de hacer.
Muy bien, tomaremos varias preguntas del teléfono. Tenemos a Anthony León de Spectrum News.
Hola, soy Anthony León con Spectrum News. Muchas gracias por responder nuestras preguntas. Este es ciertamente un momento histórico. La NASA ha iniciado el regreso de los humanos a la Luna. ¿Cómo se siente escribir este nuevo capítulo en nuestro libro de historia?
Tengo que decirte, sabes, mi experiencia es en ciencia planetaria y fui un científico planetario activo durante un par de décadas y tuve este increíble honor de venir y trabajar con el lado de vuelos espaciales tripulados de la NASA y el equipo que ha puesto esto junto. Pero como alguien que ha estado interesado en lo que podemos hacer explorando la Luna y yendo más allá de la órbita baja de la Tierra, creo que el peso de esta misión y lo increíblemente impactante que es que realmente hemos logrado esto, ya sabes, durante nuestras vidas aquí hemos hecho esto, ¿verdad? Sabes, cuando era, Apolo fue cuando era niño y estar aquí ahora y decir, realmente hicimos esto, hemos regresado y vamos a construir una base lunar, vamos a tener una presencia duradera en la Luna, es simplemente increíblemente poderoso.
La siguiente pregunta es de Manuel Massanti con Exploración Espacial.
Muchas gracias. Felicitaciones a todos. Manuel Massanti. Sabes, la NASA demostró una vez más que el espacio es una fuerza unificadora en todo el mundo, con una tripulación que se conectó también con personas no importa de qué país. ¿Qué tan importante fue para cualquiera en el panel? ¿Qué tan importante fue esta misión para la agencia y para el futuro del programa Artemis?
Es la misión de vuelo espacial humano más importante que creo que hemos hecho en muchas décadas en términos de lo que significó históricamente, pero también lo que significa para el futuro de la agencia. Hablamos antes de que para muchas personas este es el final de un largo viaje trabajando en estas máquinas y para gran parte de nuestra fuerza laboral es solo el comienzo. Pero definitivamente es un punto de inflexión para todos nosotros, así que es difícil subestimar, sabes, cuán increíblemente valioso es para todo el equipo.
Vamos aquí con Zach.
Sí, gracias. Felicidades. Zachary Albert con The Launchpad de Canadá. Ahmed, si pudieras enviar un mensaje a la NASA en 50 años, hemos mirado mucho hacia atrás en los últimos 50. ¿Qué le dirías a la administración y a la NASA entonces cuando esperemos que nos hayamos convertido en una especie multiplanetaria? Y para cada uno de ustedes hay una palabra o una frase rápida sobre cómo esperan que los libros de historia clasifiquen esta misión que nos hizo volver.
Sabes, hace un par de semanas estaba con el administrador en Store, estábamos en un evento diferente y estábamos hablando sobre cómo realmente íbamos a tomar decisiones y sabes, repetir y cambiar nuestro enfoque hacia la Luna, hacia construir una base lunar, hacia hacer cosas increíbles de nuevo. Y justo antes de que él y yo subiéramos al escenario, él se volvió hacia mí y dijo, sabes, en algún momento la gente va a mirar atrás a lo que estábamos haciendo y vamos a ser como esos tipos que tallaban troncos para cruzar lagos solo para ver si podíamos hacerlo. Y luego, ya sabes, en el futuro la gente nos mirará y dirá, no era eso pintoresco y no es interesante cómo lo hicieron, pero quiero decir, eso es más o menos donde creo que esto va a terminar en el gran esquema de las cosas. Sabes, por supuesto, Apolo logró cosas increíbles, hemos hecho cosas increíbles desde entonces, pero esto creo va a ser un paso importante y espero que la historia sea amable con nosotros como resultado.
Está bien. Steven, ¿tenías uno?
TJ Mascaro con The Epoch Times. Muchas gracias a todos y felicitaciones de nuevo. Mi pregunta es sobre los dos respaldos. Sabes, ellos mismos se han entrenado para esta misión todo el camino. No estoy tratando de preguntar si van a estar tratando de que me digas si están en Artemis 3 o no, pero puedes contarme un poco más sobre su destino, porque durante Apolo parecía que la tripulación de respaldo de una misión estaba destinada a ser la tripulación principal de una misión posterior.
Así que tanto Jenny como Andre fueron parte de esta tripulación en todos los sentidos. Entrenaron con ellos, estuvieron en la sala blanca cuando la estaban cerrando, estuvieron con ellos, las familias estaban juntas. Jenny estaba con nosotros en la sala de observación hoy, así que son parte de esta tripulación y lo dejaré así.
Sí, adelante.
Gracias, Dr. Alison McGraw de Mysterious Meteorites. Dada la exitosa demostración del equipo con la transmisión de video en 4K utilizando las comunicaciones láser, ¿habrá otra prueba de esto? ¿Y qué significa esto para el nivel de preparación TRL para, digamos, una misión de nave espacial planetaria? Gracias.
Lo tienes.
Creo que hemos tenido una demostración increíble de las comunicaciones ópticas y la transmisión de video en 4K, que fue simplemente fantástica. Creo que realmente hemos demostrado que esta es una capacidad asombrosa que ciertamente nos gustaría implementar en el futuro. Así que tendremos que ver cómo funciona eso y ver cómo podemos hacer que eso suceda.
Solo para señalar, sin embargo, hemos cerrado un enlace óptico desde mucho más
Sí,
lejos.
lo tenemos
un
desde
vehículo
Marte.
Shike,
Sí,
así que
distancia de
estamos trabajando
Marte.
en eso.
Ajá.
Está bien, vamos a venir por aquí. Solo necesitamos esperar a que el micrófono llegue.
Hola, gracias de nuevo por hacer esto y nuevamente felicidades por una misión tan increíble. Beverly Casillas para Space Scout aquí. Y solo tenía una pregunta rápida. Hemos visto algunas imágenes realmente increíbles a lo largo de esta misión. Ha sido genial, ya sabes, obtener esa descarga rápidamente con las comunicaciones láser. Y tengo curiosidad por saber cuánta de esa imagen que se tomó durante la misión a bordo ha sido descargada y cuánta de esa aún permanece en la nave espacial para ser recuperada más tarde. Gracias.
No conozco las estadísticas oficiales, pero ciertamente podemos comunicarnos con usted en una fecha posterior.
Sé que Reed hizo el comentario de que, aunque enviaron bastante de vuelta, las cosas que tienen con ellos son bastante asombrosas. Así que nosotros, una vez que lo saquemos del medio físico en el vehículo, con suerte podremos enviárselo a ustedes pronto.
Sí, obtendremos todas esas tarjetas SD, las descargaremos todas y, por supuesto, todas las imágenes que se requerían el lunes, que eran las imágenes científicas, todo eso estará disponible a través del sistema de datos planetarios y sí, archivado.
Está bien, tomaremos algunas más del teléfono. El siguiente es Alejandro Turnbull con Space Scout.
Hola, felicitaciones a todos por una misión fantástica. Pregunta para Rick. Mientras la nave descendía bajo el paracaídas, vimos en la cámara infrarroja algunas plumas que emanaban del vehículo que parecían ser ventilación o disparo de propulsores. Solo me pregunto si podrías hablar un poco sobre lo que la nave estaba haciendo entonces. ¿Qué exactamente causó esas plumas? Gracias.
Sí, no sabiendo el video al que te refieres, me imagino que probablemente sea la nave espacial reorientándose. Nosotros, cuando estamos en nuestros paracaídas principales, hacemos una reorientación para asegurar que el más robusto.
La parte estructural de la nave espacial contacta con el agua primero, y así que sospecho que las plumas que estaban viendo eran los propulsores del sistema de control de reacción del módulo de la tripulación disparando.
La siguiente pregunta es de David Denault de About Space Today News.
Primero, me gustaría decir no solo felicitaciones, sino que creo que esta es una de las misiones más espectaculares que la NASA ha realizado. Y muchas personas han comparado esto con el Apolo 8 y puedo decirles que no hay comparación con lo que se ha hecho con la nave espacial Orión y la tecnología de nuestros socios de la Agencia Espacial Europea. Estuve allí al comienzo del Apolo 8. Probablemente soy el periodista de radiodifusión más viejo hoy, pero mi pregunta para cada uno de ustedes, ¿cuál fue su momento de asombro?
Podemos empezar con el señor Quinn, está un poco solo por allí.
No escuché la pregunta, sí.
Solo elige algo impresionante.
Oh, está bien.
Bueno, ser un tipo del Centro Espacial Kennedy, el lanzamiento fue un día bastante especial, ¿sabes? Ver todos esos umbilicales despejar el vehículo y el vehículo despejar la torre y ver ese cohete elevarse de la plataforma fue absolutamente increíble.
Sí, hombre, está bien. Sé que Víctor siempre dice aterrizaje, llegando al agua. Sabes, para mí el mejor momento fueron los paracaídas principales desplegándose. Creo que al ver eso, estaba gritando, vamos, 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 solo. Alguien grabó un video de eso, creen que me estaba volviendo loco, pero solo seguía diciendo eso mientras salían los paracaídas de frenado. Pero cuando los principales salieron y comenzaron a inflarse lentamente, quiero decir, eso fue un momento tremendo, ¿sabes? Como dije, el objetivo número 1 es llevar a la tripulación a casa y sé que hay todo tipo de cosas que pueden suceder después de eso, pero tener esos principales y llevar el vehículo a 60 millas por hora desde 24.600 millas por hora es bastante increíble y bajar esos paracaídas fue un gran momento.
Voy a votar por el nombramiento de los 2 cráteres como mi mejor momento.
Sé que todo sigue siendo reciente, así que para mí probablemente voy a decir 2 cosas. Cuando la tripulación, sabes, cuando Reed informó de vuelta, ya sabes, 4 tripulantes verdes después del amerizaje, eso es lo que esperamos, ¿verdad? Así que eso fue increíble. Y luego cuando empezaron, vimos a Cristina salir de la cápsula, entonces fue como, está bien, estamos aquí.
No, está bien. El mío es fácil. Será mañana cuando vea a mis amigos de nuevo.
Muy bien, una más del teléfono y luego volvemos a la sala. Entonces, la pregunta del teléfono vendrá de Russell Pounds de Pacific Rim Media.
Hola, este es Russell llamando desde Alaska hoy. Felicitaciones a todos. Les diré que hubo lágrimas de alegría en la sala aquí donde estábamos viendo. Mi pregunta es sobre la logística. Estoy pensando en todas las partes móviles que se necesitan para llevar comida, energía, telecomunicaciones y así sucesivamente en una misión complicada. ¿Cuáles fueron algunas de las lecciones logísticas aprendidas que podrían ser útiles para las organizaciones aquí en la Tierra?
Interesante.
Sí, creo que es un buen comienzo. Quiero decir, es increíblemente desafiante planificar una misión como esta. Sabes, aunque Orion es una nave espacial bastante grande, asegurarnos de tener todo lo que necesitamos y pensamos en las contingencias. A veces perdemos sistemas, nos preocupamos por eso, queremos asegurarnos de tener todo listo para ir. Sin embargo, te diré que, sabes, después de haber pensado en esto por un tiempo, la logística de volar una misión de 10 días, incluso tan lejos, palidece en comparación con la logística de mantener a la tripulación en la estación espacial constantemente. Así que diría que muchas de nuestras lecciones logísticas se han derivado de eso. Sabes, eso no es solo, sabes, consumibles y agua y gas, etcétera, pero también se trata de pensar en la fiabilidad de los sistemas y cuándo van a fallar. A veces es difícil de predecir. ¿Sabes cómo hacer eso? Tener repuestos para la máquina y asegurarte de que tengamos todo preposicionado en caso de que tengamos fallos. Eso proviene de mucho aprendizaje, tanto antes del vuelo como durante el vuelo. Y entonces ya sabes, pero la logística en el espacio va a ser un gran desafío para nosotros en el futuro, mientras realmente contemplamos una base lunar. Pero con suerte podremos aplicar lecciones de, obviamente, esta misión, pero creo que de la estación espacial también, mientras construimos esa base lunar.
Está bien, tomaremos algunas más aquí en la sala. Iremos al centro allí.
Hola, Jishti Nair, Houston Business Journal. Me uno a las felicitaciones por la gran misión. Mientras seguíamos el progreso, tuvimos muchas voces de la industria espacial, especialmente aquí en Houston, que se unieron y, ya sabes, expresaron su apoyo también. Y sé que muchas de esas empresas están trabajando en propuestas o presentaciones específicas de la NASA, pero en general, ¿cómo dirías que te gustaría ver a la industria responder al tipo de logro que la NASA ha conseguido aquí y espera continuar con Artemis?
Voy a intentar responder a eso. ¿Cómo me gustaría ver que la industria responda? Es tomar esto no solo como inspiración, sino como un desafío. Han escuchado que realmente queremos acelerar nuestro ritmo y poder devolver a nuestra tripulación al espacio dentro de 1 año y a la superficie de la Luna en 2 años. De hecho, esperamos aterrizar en la Luna 2 veces en 2028. Para lograr eso, no vamos a poder hacerlo solos, necesitamos que toda la industria trabaje y nos acompañe y ellos deben aceptar ese desafío y venir con nosotros y realmente comenzar las líneas de producción que serán necesarias para alcanzar ese objetivo.
Está bien, escuchemos al del sombrero blanco.
Hola, JJ Love con Tech Talk Media. Solo tengo algunas palabras de reconocimiento para todos ustedes y todo el equipo de Artemis. Lo que han hecho esta semana es recordarle a la gente de la Tierra que vale la pena perseguir la maravilla, que la curiosidad no es un lujo, es lo más humano que tenemos. No solo probaste una nave espacial, probaste el potencial de la humanidad y nos llevaste a todos contigo en el proceso. Cada niño que miró la luna esta semana lo hizo de manera diferente gracias a ti. Las personas que necesitaban algo en lo que creer lo encontraron en ese amerizaje esta noche. Así que gracias, no solo por los datos y no solo por la misión, sino por demostrar que la búsqueda de lo posible sigue viva y en buen estado. Estamos muy agradecidos.
Gracias por eso.
Muy bien dicho. Gracias por eso. Te diría que, sabes, para todos los que escuchan esto es el programa de contribuyentes. La gente pagó por esto, la gente invirtió en esto, invirtieron en todas las cosas que hacemos y por eso estamos agradecidos por el apoyo.
Está bien, tomaremos un par de preguntas más y luego terminaremos. Tenemos una aquí y luego más atrás.
Hola, felicidades, Emily Martin de CD's Best Friends. Reed Wiseman dio un saludo al ESM justo después de que se separó de Orion, diciendo que impulsó su viaje a la Luna con perfección. Me preguntaba qué comentarios podría tener sobre el desempeño del ESM y sobre el futuro de esa colaboración con Europa.
Sí, yo diría que, sabes, el módulo de servicio europeo en general funcionó como se esperaba. Sé que aprendimos un poco sobre el sistema de presurización y trabajaremos en eso, pero en general, realmente genial. Parte de nuestra nave espacial. Realmente apreciamos nuestra asociación europea. Tenemos una colaboración continua con ellos para Artemis 3, 4. También estamos construyendo ESN 5 y continuaremos haciéndolo a medida que avancemos.
Muy bien, tomaremos una última pregunta.
Hola, Chelsea Torres con Fox de nuevo. Felicitaciones por una misión histórica. De nuevo, vuelo de prueba. Y una cosa es que nosotros como humanos somos exploradores y tengo curiosidad si puedes hablar un poco sobre esto. Durante el sobrevuelo lunar vimos la emoción no solo de la tripulación, sino también de todos en el control de misión. ¿Hubo algo que te llamó la atención, ya sea el terminador, ciertas imágenes y datos, cualquier cosa de la que puedas hablar que tal vez no sabías antes sobre la superficie lunar, nuestro planeta, el espacio en sí, de lo que te gustaría hablar? Gracias.
Solo voy a mencionar una cosa que pensé que fue realmente única sobre esta misión. Quiero decir, ciertamente hay un montón de cosas nuevas que hemos hecho al tener a nuestra tripulación observando el lado lejano de la Luna y poder observar estas características después de su increíble entrenamiento. Pero te diré, lo que realmente me impresiona es poder ver a nuestra tripulación observar un eclipse al tener la Luna pasando entre su nave espacial y el Sol. Esa fue una experiencia totalmente única y algo de lo que estaba tan orgulloso de que todos pudiéramos participar y viajar junto con ellos y experimentar ese momento.
Muy bien, eso es todo el tiempo que tenemos hoy. Muchas gracias a nuestros participantes de hoy y a todos ustedes por seguirnos. Pueden encontrar la información más reciente sobre nuestras misiones en nasa.gov y esperamos pronto tener información sobre la hora de llegada esperada de la tripulación de regreso a Houston mañana. Gracias.
Tenemos un invitado muy especial que quería ser la primera persona en saludarlos después de su regreso del lado lejano de la Luna. Reid, Víctor, Cristina y Jeremy, es un honor para mí presentarles al presidente de los Estados Unidos de América, el presidente Donald J. Trump. Adelante, señor.
Bueno, muchas gracias, Jared, y estás haciendo un trabajo fantástico. Y hola, un saludo muy especial a Artemis 2. Hoy han hecho historia y han hecho que toda América se sienta realmente orgullosa, increíblemente orgullosa. Tenemos muchas cosas de las que estar orgullosos últimamente, pero esto es, no hay nada como lo que están haciendo al orbitar la Luna por primera vez en más de medio siglo y romper el récord histórico de la mayor distancia desde el planeta Tierra. Los humanos realmente nunca han visto algo tan parecido a lo que estás haciendo en una nave espacial tripulada. Es realmente especial. Quiero saludar y felicitar personalmente al comandante Reid Wiseman, al piloto Victor Glover y a los especialistas de misión Christina Koch y Jeremy Hansen. Y también quiero agradecer a todo el increíble equipo de NASA encabezado por Jared, que es un tipo muy especial, por cierto, y todos ustedes hicieron posible este día y realmente han inspirado a todo el mundo, de verdad. Todos están mirando, lo encuentran increíble. Acabo de verte ir al lado oculto de la Luna. Y la gente no ha estado allí en mucho tiempo, podemos decir, pero va a ser cada vez más común porque vamos a hacer muchos viajes y luego finalmente harás el gran viaje a Marte y eso va a ser muy emocionante. Entonces, mira, no hemos tenido ningún astronauta en la Luna desde los días del programa Apolo. El programa Apolo también fue muy especial, pero eso fue hace 50 años y por fin América está de regreso. Y América está de regreso en muchos aspectos más fuerte que nunca, siendo el país más atractivo en cualquier parte del mundo. La tripulación de Artemis voló en el cohete más poderoso que la NASA ha hecho y lanzado. Viajaron más de 250,000 de millas, rompiendo el récord de distancia establecido por el legendario Apolo 13. Y América es una nación fronteriza y los 4 valientes astronautas de Artemis 2 realmente son pioneros modernos todos ustedes y uno de ellos resulta ser un vecino. ¿Saben quién es, verdad? Tiene a una persona especial allí, un vecino, y nos gusta nuestro vecino. Su misión allana el camino para el regreso de Estados Unidos a la superficie lunar muy pronto. Estamos yendo con todo, estamos haciendo todo lo que podemos y está liderado por Jared. Plantaremos nuestra bandera una vez más y esta vez no solo dejaremos huellas, estableceremos una presencia permanente en la Luna y avanzaremos hacia Marte. Eso será muy emocionante, estoy esperando eso. Tanto, me encantaría estar aquí, pero tal vez no lo logremos en términos de tiempo, pero estaremos en la Luna y eso sucederá pronto. Así que Estados Unidos no tendrá rival en el espacio y en todo lo demás que estamos haciendo y continuaremos liderando todo hacia las estrellas, este increíble viaje hacia las estrellas. Así que es un honor hablar con ustedes y quería felicitar a cada uno de ustedes. Y dime, ¿cuál es la parte más inolvidable de este día realmente histórico? Todo el mundo está mirando y escuchando. Por favor, dime.
Presidente, esta llamada es ciertamente especial para todos nosotros y realmente tenemos mucha fe en nuestro administrador Jared Eastman, que está con usted. Apreciamos su liderazgo en la NASA y en la comunidad internacional. Estamos haciendo grandes cosas y estamos orgullosos de ser parte de ello. Tengo que decirle, mientras veníamos alrededor del lado cercano de la Luna, viendo todos los paisajes que hemos visto desde la Tierra durante toda nuestra vida, pero los estamos viendo desde una perspectiva diferente. Y luego comenzamos a vislumbrar y vimos paisajes orientales, paisajes que ningún humano ha visto antes, ni siquiera un Apolo, y eso fue increíble para nosotros. Luego, la sorpresa del día, acabamos de salir de un eclipse donde el Sol, la Luna y toda la Luna oscura de ese tamaño, justo afuera de la ventana que estábamos mirando. Pudimos ver la corona del Sol y luego pudimos ver la alineación de los planetas y nosotros, y todos comentamos lo emocionados que estamos de ver a esta nación y a este planeta convertirse en una especie de 2 planetas.
Eso es fantástico. Sabes, tuve que tomar una decisión en mi primer mandato y la decisión era, ¿qué vamos a hacer con la NASA? ¿Vamos a revivirla o vamos a cerrarla? Y tuve muy pocas dudas y es realmente genial tener a alguien como Jim Barrett involucrado porque realmente lo hace mucho más fácil para mí, pero ni siquiera fue una pregunta en mi propia mente. Simplemente hemos hecho lo que teníamos que hacer y luego, por supuesto, tenemos la fuerza espacial y la fuerza espacial está muy relacionada con lo que estás haciendo y esa fue mi creación, esa fue muy importante y resultará ser verdaderamente una de las decisiones más importantes que he tomado, creo. Así que estamos muy orgullosos de la fuerza espacial y estamos muy orgullosos de todos ustedes. ¿Alguien más tiene algo que decir? Hay mucha gente escuchando.
Señor presidente, estar aquí con usted hablando sobre nuestro increíble día de hoy. Creo que uno de los mayores momentos destacados fue regresar desde el lado lejano de la Luna y tener las primeras vistas del planeta Tierra nuevamente después de estar sin comunicación durante unos 45 minutos. Realmente te recuerda qué lugar tan especial tenemos y cuán importante es para nuestra nación avanzar, para liderar y no seguir en la exploración del espacio profundo.
Me gustaría preguntar, ¿cuál fue tu sensación cuando no tenías comunicación, cero comunicación? De repente se cortó por, obviamente, tu ubicación tan especial. ¿Cuál fue tu sensación cuando no tenías comunicación? Un poco diferente quizás.
Sí, señor presidente, dije una pequeña oración, pero luego tuve que seguir adelante. En realidad estaba grabando observaciones científicas del lado oculto de la Luna. ¿Sabes? Ese es realmente el momento en que estábamos más lejos y más cerca de la Luna y así pudimos hacer algunas de nuestras observaciones más detalladas del lado oculto de la Luna de cerca. Y estábamos muy ocupados aquí trabajando muy duro y debo decir que fue realmente bastante agradable.
¿Ves una diferencia, una gran diferencia entre el lado lejano de la Luna y el lado cercano de la Luna? ¿Había una diferencia en la sensación o en el aspecto? ¿Qué viste?
Bueno, señor presidente, ciertamente lo hicimos y nuestro equipo de ciencia realmente nos preparó bien para entender lo que pensaban que podríamos ver. Y la atracción gravitacional de la Tierra ha tenido un efecto profundo en el lado cercano de la Luna, cambiando todos esos mares oscuros, esos parches oscuros de la Luna que ves desde la Tierra. Es muy diferente en el lado lejano. Mientras ves algunos pequeños parches de esos mares en cráteres profundos, están muy ausentes en ese lado. Así que eso es realmente interesante. Y mientras tengo el micrófono, señor, solo quiero agradecerle en nombre de Canadá. El liderazgo espacial del que habló de América es realmente extraordinario. Lo he dicho muchas veces antes, una nación que lidera así y luego crea y establece grandes metas para la humanidad que involucran a otros países. Es realmente increíble y sé que es una decisión muy intencional, no una decisión necesaria, decisión intencional de liderar con el ejemplo y permitir que otros países como Canadá compartan nuestros dones y te ayuden a lograr estos objetivos mutuamente beneficiosos como establecer una presencia en la Luna y eventualmente ir a Marte, y los canadienses están muy orgullosos de ser parte de este programa.
Bueno, tengo que decir que hablé con una persona muy especial, Wayne Gretzky, a quien creo que conoces, el gran uno, y hablé con tu primer ministro y muchos otros amigos que tengo en Canadá. Están muy orgullosos de ti y tienes mucho coraje. No estoy seguro de si querrían hacer eso, ni siquiera estoy seguro de si el gran Juan querría hacer eso, para ser honesto contigo, pero tienes mucho coraje haciendo lo que estás haciendo, mucha valentía y mucho genio, pero están muy orgullosos de ti.
Administrador Isaac, solo haga una verificación rápida de comunicación. Asegúrese de que ustedes todavía estás en la línea y no tuvimos un traspaso.
Lo soy. Sí, lo soy.
Y, integridad y de vuelta a usted, señor presidente.
Sí, creo que podríamos haber sido cortados. Es una larga distancia, es un largo camino. La recepción ha sido excelente. Hay un pequeño retraso de unos 9 segundos, pero no, solo tenía una declaración para no sé qué escuchaste, pero solo decía que está muy orgullosos de tu brillante persona de Canadá en el barco. Y Wayne Gretzky es un gran amigo mío y él está muy orgulloso de él. Y el primer ministro con el que hablé están muy, muy honrados de que tengas una persona valiente de Canadá. Tienes muchas personas valientes de Canadá, así que fue muy agradable. No estoy seguro si me escuchaste decir eso, pero fue muy agradable.
Sí, señor presidente. Escuchamos eso y amamos a nuestro Jeremy Hansen, amamos a todos nuestros astronautas canadienses, Jenny Gibbons, Josh Kutrick, son personas geniales y son una adición muy bienvenida a nuestro núcleo.
Genial. Bueno, realmente espero cuando podamos, espero verte en la oficina oval. Le pediré a Jared que te traiga y te pediré tu autógrafo, porque realmente no pido autógrafos mucho, pero tú lo mereces, realmente eres algo especial, todos están hablando de esto y espero tenerte en la oficina oval, en la Casa Blanca, y celebraremos tus increíbles logros y triunfos. Esto es grande. Esto es realmente algo grande, todo el mundo está hablando de ello y si tienes tiempo, yo ciertamente encontraré el tiempo. He estado bastante ocupado también, como sabes, pero absolutamente encontraré el tiempo y nos reuniremos y te voy a dar un gran saludo en nombre del pueblo estadounidense y más allá.
Gracias por eso, señor presidente, y cuando nos necesite estaremos allí. Y gracias por su liderazgo, gracias a Jared por su liderazgo. Realmente, gracias por tomarse el tiempo hoy para visitar la NASA. Es realmente especial para nosotros, pero es realmente especial para el equipo en tierra. Un equipo entero de personas de todo el mundo logró esto y solo queremos decirles gracias a todos ustedes por esto. Es la emoción y el honor de toda una vida haber estado en este viaje. Hoy fue increíble, pero este viaje de 3 años ha sido increíble y fue posible gracias al pueblo estadounidense y al pueblo canadiense y estamos muy agradecidos con todos ustedes. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, muchas gracias y Jared, felicitaciones, nos veremos pronto y sé que tienes Marte muy presente en tu mente, así que empezaremos a pensar en eso muy pronto, creo. Y gracias, felicitaciones a todos, nos vemos en la oficina oval.
Gracias por su tiempo, señor presidente, ha sido un honor.
Muchas gracias. Adiós.
Integridad, aquí Houston ACR, eso concluye el evento, gracias.
Gracias a todos los participantes. Integrity, ahora reanudamos las comunicaciones de audio operativas. Integridad, Houston, un gran trabajo en el evento. Solo para que sepas, estamos en camino de comenzar. Empieza el próximo evento a las 4:15.
Está bien, suena genial, está bonito.
Este es el control de misión Artemis en Houston, Texas. Acabamos de tener ese evento de asuntos públicos con el presidente Donald Trump y la tripulación a bordo de la nave espacial Orion. Y en aproximadamente 10 minutos habrá otro evento de asuntos públicos. Ese evento tendrá lugar a un tiempo transcurrido de misión de 5 días, 4 horas y 15 minutos. Actualmente en su pantalla están viendo el sitio web de la órbita en tiempo real de Artemis, que proporciona actualizaciones sobre la velocidad y la distancia de la nave espacial Orion, desde tanto la Tierra como la Luna. La nave espacial Orion y su tripulación, que incluye a Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch y Jeremy Hansen, están actualmente a unas 250,000 millas de la Tierra, y esa distancia está comenzando a reducirse ya que ahora están en el tramo de regreso de su viaje. Y están a unas 9,300 millas de la Luna. Hicieron su acercamiento cercano a la Luna.
Integridad Houston con una pregunta sobre la velocidad del ventilador. Hola Reed, nos preguntábamos si esta velocidad ajustada del ventilador es algo que te gustaría mantener en el futuro o si fue solo una solicitud de cambio específica para los eventos de este.
Ciertamente para eventos de PAO, esta es una velocidad de ventilador ideal. Si estás dispuesto a darnos esta velocidad de ventilador para la habitabilidad rutinaria, creo que la aceptaríamos y la probaríamos por un tiempo.
Y Reid, podemos mantener la velocidad del ventilador en esta configuración. Encantados de mantenerla aquí para recopilar datos.
Está bien, tienes a 4 astronautas felices aquí arriba. Lo tomaremos. Obviamente cuando vayamos a hacer ejercicio necesitaremos aumentarlo, pero creo que gracias por calmarnos y vivir. Esto será genial.
Copiamos y nos encanta ver esas sonrisas.
Houston, integridad para la cámara de acoplamiento.
Adelante.
Solo quiero asegurarme de que tenemos la configuración que esperas. Tengo el soporte de cámara dual instalado. La persiana de la ventana está cerrada y la cámara de acoplamiento está guardada en su área de almacenamiento Alfa 3.
Esa es una buena configuración.
Gracias.
Y mientras te tengo aquí, estamos a 3 minutos de comenzar el próximo evento a tiempo.
Este es el control de misión Artemis en Houston, Texas. Puedes ver en vivo a la tripulación de Artemis 2 dentro de la cabina de la nave espacial Orion mientras se preparan para otro evento de enlace de asuntos públicos. En tu pantalla está el astronauta de la CSA Jeremy Hansen, junto con el astronauta de la NASA Reed Wiseman y el astronauta de la NASA Victor Glover apareciendo. Más temprano hoy, la tripulación completó su periodo de observación de sobrevuelo lunar, durante el cual ellos, la nave espacial Orion y su tripulación pasaron aproximadamente de 4.000 a 6.000 millas de la Luna y proporcionaron a los astronautas una vista completa del disco de la superficie lunar. Y desde ese punto de vista más alto, los astronautas pudieron observar ambos polos y características geológicas a gran escala en una sola vista. Hacia el S, al final de ese periodo de observación, también pudieron ver un eclipse y ese periodo de eclipse duró aproximadamente 1 hora y fue cuando el Sol estaba oculto a la vista detrás del lado opuesto de la Luna desde la perspectiva de Orión. Desde entonces, la tripulación ha estado trabajando para limpiar algunas de sus observaciones y transferir algunos de los datos e imágenes a la Tierra para comenzar el procesamiento. Y el equipo científico revisará esas imágenes a medida que lleguen antes de una conferencia posterior al sobrevuelo lunar mañana con la tripulación después de su periodo de descanso. Ahora estamos esperando un segundo evento de asuntos públicos que tendrá lugar en aproximadamente 1 minuto.
Integridad aquí Houston. ¿Estás listo para el evento?
Evento.
Houston, Integrity está lista para el evento.
Administrador Isaacman, aquí control de misión Houston. Por favor, llame a Integrity para una verificación de voz.
Integridad, Jared Isaacman, verificación de comunicación.
Administrador Isaacman, lo escuchamos fuerte y claro aquí arriba.
Te escucho fuerte y claro. Y veamos si podemos superar ese último evento de altavoces. Eso fue bastante especial. Así que vamos a pasar los próximos 20 minutos haciendo preguntas y respuestas de varias preguntas que se han enviado y vamos a comenzar con una de mí. Ustedes han pasado años preparándose para este momento e imaginando cómo debe ser mirar hacia abajo a la luna, a la superficie lunar. ¿Qué les ha sorprendido que no anticiparon?
No, está encendido. Administrador, es genial hablar contigo. Solo algo que me sorprendió porque realmente usando imágenes y solo la tridimensionalidad de ello, ya sabes, desde tu experiencia de ver la Tierra desde el espacio, como simplemente parece diferente y miras la profundidad de las cosas. Y cuando estábamos en el lado lejano de la Luna mirando hacia la Tierra, era tan obvio que tenías esta esfera frente a ti de la Luna y esta tridimensional. Realmente sentías que no estabas en una cápsula, habías sido transportado al lado lejano de la Luna y realmente te doblaba la mente. Fue una experiencia humana extraordinaria. Estoy muy agradecido por ello.
Integridad, Jared. ¿Alguien más quiere responder eso?
Ese.
Sabes, tuvimos un lanzamiento increíble. El SLS es un cohete bastante potente y nos llevó a una órbita de 1200 por, ya sabes, eventualmente una órbita de 100 millas y claramente impulsó la velocidad y luego hicimos nuestra inyección translunar y íbamos bastante rápido y así con toda esa velocidad aún nos tomó días llegar aquí y entonces el alcance de todas las cosas